I'm Scott Elmore. Thursday night. That means it's time for the Nicaragua Live. Welcome to the show. This is later than I wanted to be. I had a lot going on today, and none of it was me being too busy to be able to do the show. This was waiting on deliveries and thumbnails and work stuff and just all kinds of things. And we're hoping that the audio is better tonight. I did restart things. There's nothing showing any way to get echo, so I'm really hoping we have that figured out. I gotta do the invites and get people onto the live stream and all that kind of stuff. So welcome everyone to the show. It would be awesome to get everyone on. So it is Thursday night. We did a live stream last night that I was not expecting to do, and it ended up being crazy busy. We went until about 2 o'clock in the morning, so a lot of you saw me just about 15 hours ago. So welcome back. Good to have everyone here. I have a Diet Coke going on this evening, and yeah, what a busy day I feel like it's been. Alright, just checking what we're busy on, seeing if people are on. Larry is here. Hey Larry, how's it going? And let's see, I need to let the expat groups know. That's always the first task. I should have something automated to like shoot things everywhere, and I just don't. I don't even know how I would do that. Probably easy to figure out. I'm just really lazy when it comes to these things, and I get started, then it gives me something to do at the beginning of the live stream. So yeah, I don't know how we do it, but I'm really surprised by how well the stream went last night. That was really cool. Glad that we were able to do that. I was thinking I was just saving some time doing a quick 30 to 45 minute show, and instead it ended up going basically all night. And that was very cool. Like, so many people on. It was very nice. But it's always cool to do the Thursday Perfect being hello, WSG. One thing that was interesting last night, it's the first time we've ever gotten large-scale bots on the show. Never saw that before. Like, every so often you get someone who's kind of a troll or something. We actually had, like, a load of bots hop on and spam us last night. I just never seen that on my live stream, which Tiffany mentioned. You know, what a great sign of doing things right, that suddenly the automated systems are seeing it as worthwhile to come and harass us. So that's kind of interesting. It made for, had to do some moderation while doing the video, which is a little bit different, but get some caffeine going here. Let my dad know that the show has started, and people are hopping on. I can see it. I can see clearly now. The show has started. Ba-da-dum-bum-bum. Alright. And letting people know on the Expats group, if you guys haven't joined, if you're in my early people, one, give us a thumbs up. It's a great way to start the show. Helps get the word out there, tells YouTube to push it to more people, but also check out expats.nicaragua.com. Great place to get information, both about the kickoff of the live show, but also a great place to connect with people, ask questions, and do all those kinds of things. Like a really great place to just connect with a bunch of expats, whether you want to be a tourist here and need information, or you want to move here, or you live here, or whatever. And by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone, since it is that week here. Just 2 days ago. Sean Ellis is here. Hello from Canada. Since we're just getting started, I'm going to look at some of these questions. What's a good hotel in Leon? Elise C. asked 2 hours ago on the show. And so looking at good hotels, I have to guess at what good means, right? But generally we say El Convento and La Perla. Those are the fancy hotels here in Leon. Marriott bought La Recollection, which will be reopening, I think, June. So if you're coming in the next few weeks, that's not an option, but starting in June, that's a really nice location and a beautiful property, and Marriott probably will do a good job, as they normally do. So haven't been in there to know, but that's a good option. And if you are a member of the Bonvoy Marriott Club, then that would be beneficial for those people. There are plenty of nice hotels for more budget travelers looking for somewhere decent. I like Los Balcones. There's a place I can never remember the name of. There's plenty. Like, let us know information about that. Hop on the live stream and let us know. And that's great. 136 Happy Year commented 4 hours ago. I like your house yard, my house yard. Good for your dogs running around. We do love it. We had some disaster with that this week. The homeowner, because we rent, came in and chopped down our entire hedgerow. They acted like it was for some logical reason, but then the reason they gave is exactly the reason you would keep it, so it makes no sense to us. We're very sad because it ruined a huge amount of value of the house. And so we're like, and they're like, do you want to buy it? We're like, not now. You took 10 years of growth out of the garden. That's so dumb. Now the only reason we would ever want it is because of all the old growth, the things we can't replace on our own. No, now we really don't. We don't even want to talk about it. Like, I don't know why they would make it so that a buyer wouldn't be interested. Like, weird. But so that happened. We're very sad about that, and we're trying to figure out what we want to do now that this house does not have nearly the value that it did not so long ago, like 4 days ago. Just a sad state of affairs, but it is what it is. We're not the owners, and the owner can make it unappealing for us all that they want. Has nothing we can really do about it, right? They're not tearing down the house. We could leave over it, right? It definitely is a lease breaking level of change, because we could easily argue they rented us the house under false pretenses. Look at this beautiful stuff it comes with. Oh ho, you're here, we're taking it out. We've been here for a long time, but it makes no sense because they claim they want to sell the house, and it's like, why would you destroy the value if you wanted to sell the house? Clearly that's not what you're doing. It's been for sale for decades, right? Like, obviously it's not going to sell, but lowering the value is certainly not going to help it. But there's a reason we don't buy it, right? Like, it's not bad. It's got a lot of great stuff going for it. The garden is beautiful, but the lack of privacy, the constant observation from the police, not because of us, just because of where we are, the noisy neighbor problem, homeowners association problems, all kinds of hidden costs. All things that are fine when you're renting, and we decide whether or not we're going to put up with it. But to own here would be unappealing. So only works out because we have the freedom to leave should things not continue to be okay in this particular development. So weird decisions, I think, all around. But it is what it is. Not much we can do about it. Oh my gosh, my dogs are loud tonight. I can hear them everywhere. So I hope everyone is doing well. So just knocking out questions. I'm going to get to Will and Khan 9 hours ago asked the question about using different passports, but in just a minute I'm going to run outside and I'm checking on who's here and what's going on because I'm waiting for a delivery, and I just want to make sure I get that because I want to show some stuff on the show, so I'm hoping to be able to do that. Can you hear the dogs? Like, this is what it's like nonstop. All right, I'm gonna poke out real fast because I hear people going through my gate and I'm worried about missing somebody. Nope, false alarm. I also have someone here working on fixing air conditioning insulation, so a lot going on with that. All right. What language is this? What does that mean? Steel and sulfur. My new puppy is eating my hand. Brad Pinkoff, you talk with camera. I do. I talk to the camera, but they don't listen to me. For those who know, paint your wagon. My dad is here. Good evening. Bunny said hi. Sean Ellis, do you have friends near Apoyo that may have insight on houses for sale? I do have a friend near Apoyo. I don't think he has information on houses for sale. There aren't many. People don't tend to leave Apoyo, but they do exist. I saw someone talking about one recently. It's a tough market to get into. It's such a secluded area, and it's highly desirable but very sparsely populated. So there's not a lot of properties in Apoyo, right? So it's very, very small. The language here is English, in case. It's weird to ask an English speaker speaking English in English what language it is. That implies you know what language it is to have asked the question in that language. Janet, I'm here for a bit of time. I have another class coming up, I think. Hey, Janet, how's it going? We got 14 people on. I fear mostly bots, but they're here nonetheless. Oh, hey, my little thing popped up over here. Oh, that's nice. All right. So I wanted to answer this question that came up on the live stream from Will and Con. I am new to this, and we'll be looking to book a flight soon to my country of birth. So this is difficult because we don't know where that country is. We're assuming, but so the video he's responding to is how to properly use multiple passports. So it is not necessarily going to or from Nicaragua that we might guess just because of the topic of the live stream, but this is a generic one. Which passport do I input when booking my flight? That is generally difficult. The country where I now live or the country of my birth. We're going to assume that they are flying from the country that they live in to the country of their birth. They could be a different one, right? Well, real quick, if you're flying from a country that is not the country that you live in, just use the passport of your birth, right? Use only that. For booking the flight, you would use the passport of the country you live in, because you must use the passport of the country you're in. So we're just going to imagine you're flying from the United States to Nicaragua. You were born in Nicaragua. I know that that's unlikely to be the countries involved, but I'm going to use it as an example so I can state this. So if you're flying in the United States, you must use your U.S. passport to exit the U.S. This is true of essentially every country in the world. You use the passport of that country in that country. So if your exit control requires you to use your local passport, then the airline is going to require you to use that local passport. You then use the passport of the country you were born in, Nicaragua, to enter Nicaragua. You never use a foreign passport to enter a country. So if you are in the United States, you use your U.S. passport. If you're in Nicaragua, you use your Nicaraguan passport. Those portions should be simple. The part that's confusing is what about the airline? Because doesn't the airline exist after you leave one and before you arrive in the other? Yes, that's true. However, it would be the airline would only check your passport as you exit. So you want your airline ticket to match your exit passport, not your upcoming entrance passport. So I, flying from the United States, would show an American passport to get on an American flight going out of an American airport. Right, so you want the thing that security, border control just checked as you leave to be the same thing that you show to the airline. Then when you're in flight, you switch and you stop using the one from the country you just left and you start using the one of the country you're going to, the one where you were born. And so it would be, in the case of many of my viewers, pulling out a Nicaraguan passport. So when they disembark the plane, where they don't check passports, and you then go through the entrance control into that country, you then show the passport of your country so you can go back in. What you never want to do is show another country's passport to your country. Not that it's like some huge secret, but that's generally considered trying to hide, right? There are countries that will allow that. They are few and far between. I don't know of any, but I do know they exist. So if you think about it, it does make sense logically, but that flight is like, am I missing something? What do I do? No one ever mentions that. You treat it as part of where it's coming from. Think about where they're going to look at the passport, and that's where it's going to be. When I return, do I just do all the custom processes using my passport for the country that I live in? So when you're flying back, you can. So if you're in Nicaragua, it is illegal to ever show a passport from another country. Unless you're like, hey, look, I have a passport from another country, but here's my real one. Right, okay. But you're never allowed to use it. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. It is somewhere between completely illegal or voluntarily denouncement of your Nicaraguan. Right, now that's extreme compared to most countries. Like in the US, it's just illegal, and there's like fines or penalties or something. But it can be quite dramatic, depending. It's considered very bad to show, under normal circumstances, a different passport in a country. So when you're returning and you're leaving the country of your birth, you would continue to show the passport that is of that country until you have left and boarded the plane. When you board the plane, you will show most likely the passport of that country. If you bought a round-trip ticket, you may be forced to swap and already show your current living country because the airline may expect it. You might get stuck. Airlines are kind of weird, but airlines are not official, so you're probably okay. What happens at check-in in my birth country airport when I'm traveling home? So that's the part we just covered, but you must show them their passport. Right, so the easiest thing is the airlines, mostly it's logical, and it's not a huge deal if you get the wrong one. Never let the country of your birth ever see a different passport than the one that they gave you, and never let the country that you live in see any passport except the one they gave you. That's simple, right? There isn't any scenario where your new country sees your old passport or your old country sees your new passport. That part always answers itself. So that should be pretty straightforward. All right, just gonna refresh that. See if we got new. Where do you find a 6 to 12 month lease? So that's on the live stream. So it's not easy, but it's way easier than other things like a 3-month lease. 3-month lease, anything that's more than a hotel and less than a 6-month, very hard. Very, very hard. For 6 and more, those are long-term, and especially if you don't want furnished, then you're in pretty good shape. Where do you find them? Always the question. So the easiest thing is word of mouth. Get to know people, get to know your community, walk around, look for places, talk to people, someone will know. That's not an answer that people like, but that is what most of us do. When you want to do more than that, you do have Facebook Marketplace. That is generally a useful tool. Be very aware that the information is almost completely wrong, but it gives you a starting point. You can reach out to sellers agents at real estate companies. Remember, they do not represent you. This is the seller's agent, so it's different than when we say never use a real estate agent, never hire a buyer's agent, right? But a seller's agent may represent property, so they may have something to show you. Just be aware. You have to do all the negotiation on your own. There's no one who's going to tell you what things are worth, so you're completely on your own. But if you're talk to a normal person just directly leasing you a place, you would be on your own too. You can, of course, get a lawyer who can help you. You could hire a consultant, but don't get someone that you pay commission, because obviously you're paying them to do the opposite of what you think you want them to do. But Facebook Marketplace does have a bit of listings. Someone mentioned recently Encuentro 24, generally no. That tends to it's a foreign-owned website that is not used by Nicaraguans heavily, that targets expats. So very, very not a good resource to use if you can help it. Those are mostly it. Right, there's no central website, there's no central tooling, there's no walk around and look and see what there is, right? Do your own legwork as much as possible. Ask people, get some leads from Facebook Marketplace, and if there's places that represent apartment buildings or whatever, you can try there, right? We've had some luck with that, but you have to be very knowledgeable. The more you do that, the more you're exposed. So it is still difficult. But you'll find that these processes actually net you something. There is actually results. Now, my delivery is actually here. I'm about to run out there and deal with that. So I will be back in just a minute. So you guys ask a bunch of questions, talk amongst yourselves, do all those things. And I need to... There we go. Need to set this up anyway. That did not work. Oh, there we go. And oh, why is nothing working today? I'm getting really frustrated. Part of it is my my OBS just has a lot of issues, and now this thing that should be really easy and works in theory all the time is not functional. And why? Why is it not functional? There's so many technical issues. Okay, well hold on. I just gotta run out. Sorry. I am here. I managed to do what I needed to do. We're okay. All right. Okay, now I can get back to all of the messages. Jan says I'm here for a bit of time. Jan says it's pretty good for the moment. Douglas says, shucks, howdy. John Mason, who are you calling a bot? D. Gilbert, happy day. Scott, thank you. Sean Ellis, we have found 3 great providers in Apollo on MLS, and I know the prices are inflated. What is MLS? I don't know what Apollo on MLS means. And I know the prices are inflated. Thanks for responding, Scott. Just trying to find locals with proper pricing. I think you're going to find Apoyo really difficult to get pricing on, simply because... whoa, what did I do? Did that just move around for everybody? Sorry about that. OBS is very unnecessarily difficult to use. There's so few properties buy and sell there that you're really kind of stuck with, there's just not enough market movement to likely have much information from anyone. Like, I've never met someone who bought or sold there ever. So it just leaves you with not a lot of information. Doesn't mean it's not a great place to be. It's fantastic. I would love to have a place in the Poyo. That would be great. But getting information on what other people have run into. Oh, great properties in Poyo, not Apollo. Haha. Now I see it. Double L. It's a Y. On what's MLS though? That I don't know what that is. Watson says, here, everyone run. Luke says, hola, y'all. Nika Raiders here. Salute from Masatepe. Just got off of work and is home. What did you miss? Nothing. We got started late, so you missed me running out the door for 2 seconds. Douglas says, sound levels seem to be low. All right, see what we can do. That should help a little bit. Let me know. In digital format, there are many Western gated communities. Is that a question? Who's been thinking? There aren't a lot. They do exist. Mr. Chipipoko, who's been thinking of moving for a while now? And Mercury in retrograde. Luke says the real estate agent in Matagalpa that several of us expats have used to find rentals gets paid a flat rate from the landlord. I visited 5 units before making my selection. That's nice. Good to know that that's how they do it. Sean says, just curious, you have been in country for years and still rent. I do. Is there a hidden benefit to doing so and not owning that I'm missing? Sorry to be personal. No. I'm pretty public about what we do. So to be clear, I do rent where I am now. Right? I also own multiple homes here. And properties. So it's not that I don't buy. I do. I buy more than the average bear. But, oh, MLS is a Canadian real estate site. Oh, wow. That's definitely run away from that. That's even worse than one that's pretending to be here, in a way. We have the MLS in the U.S., but it's not a real estate site. It's available to real estate agents. It's a monopoly thing. It's real, though. It actually has benefits in the U.S. Oh, we got new coffee filters here. That's nice. What is this a box of? Ooh, cool new things for my kids. Bum, bum, bum. Huge box of miniatures. They're going to be excited about that. And Gigi is going to be excited about that. So we rent here because we were interested in having a place in Leon, and we rented a few places. So I'm very big on you rent until you know where you want to be, and so we've moved around. Yeah, Cargo Train's kind of delivered. We went there and we have it now. Yeah, Douglas, I know what MLS is in North America, but it's not for Nicaragua, it's for Canada. So if they're listing it, it's definitely fake. I keep getting lost as what I'm talking about. So we rent because when we first rented in Leon, we rented downtown in Lamborio, which was a great situation. Loved our landlord, really good friends, had a really good experience there all around. And but we learned that we hated being near the churches downtown. That I would never ever consider living close to there again. Just unbearable. Right, so that was a really good learning experience for us, and we learned a whole bunch about the real estate down there and that kind of stuff. And sorry, I'm cleaning out this box of stuff that has arrived, making sure I've got all my family's gear here. What is this thing? I don't know. And so it was a very good learning experience for us. We're really glad we rented and didn't buy. Right, it's the perfect example of why you rent, right? Because there was a bunch of, oh, this isn't what I was expecting, and this is, things that we thought were going to be wonderful turned out to be unbearable, and so that would have been really, really bad had we purchased there. We'd have been so sorry. Wow, this is a cool thing has shown up, but it is not for me. It is a secret, and I have to figure out how to hide it. So, hold on, I just need to kind of throw it somewhere on one of these shelves. Give me just a second. I wish I could throw up the temporary screen. You'll be able to hear my voice. I wish I could put up the temporary screen, but I can't because it's not working for some stupid reason, which is driving me crazy. This is really cool. Okay. Sorry about that. Dealing with shipments. And so renting was great. So then we decided to rent somewhere else in the city and try another thing. So we rented here. We've been here for 3.5 years. And we've discovered that we really like where we are, roughly. But we don't really like the community we're in. Not that we don't like it, but we don't love it. It comes with a bunch of limitations and expenses and things, some of which we might have guessed, so we're not completely, caught by surprise, but others that we couldn't have guessed, and we are kind of caught by surprise. So we're really glad that we rented because it has given us an opportunity to learn a bunch again and be really confident that we love this neighborhood and really confident that this space that we're in specifically is not adequate for it. I've just got some HDMI cables, not very interesting. And so by renting, this is why I tell people you gotta rent, because there's so much to learn in a new country, and neighborhoods are so dynamic here that you really don't have a good opportunity to understand what different neighborhoods are like, what different communities are like, what different streets are like and such. It's not like in the US where you could be like, well, I lived here and like a mile away it looks the same. It's basically the same, and I can extrapolate what the commute is like going to wherever it is I need to go from home. Oh, check out this super exciting new Netgear switch, because the switch in my house died and it's impossible to get just a basic switch here. So that's awesome. And I do believe that is the end of all the interesting things in this. Oh, so what the heck is that? I think these are water filters. Okay. This is the box of not my stuff. Sorry to be boxing and unboxing on the show. Super boring, I know. But I did get some cool new toys for those who are wondering. I got a book. Some of you know I play Dungeons and Dragons, so got some. I like to get some reading. So the D&D miniatures, and then the big thing that came is this. This is the Daggerheart game starter kit, and starter kit is kind of the wrong term. It's not like a starter box. It's the full massive book, plus it comes with like cards and a bunch of cool stuff. So we might break this open here and show off the Darrington Press stuff in a little bit later. But I'm excited because I wanted to check this out, and we haven't. Yeah, so they don't call it a starter set; they call it the core set. You can see there, and I really like playing different games, and people have been raving about all the different new kind of concepts they're doing with Daggerheart, and that they've done some fun stuff, and some people are like it's a great game to play, some are like it's a great game to learn from, but it's got beautiful stuff. One way or another, wanted to check it out, so I just went ahead and ordered it. Got a new dice bag. My kids are going to be excited about that, and we got this giant pack of dice. This is all dice. So my kids are going to have to come in and pick out some sets for themselves. I got to see if there's any that are obviously going to be mine. No, I don't see one that is clearly going to be mine, so my kids will have to make first choices and see what they like. But if you want to see, let's pick one. Here's an individual, a dice set for normal TTRPG is 7 dice. And this is like $30 for this huge thing, and I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think it's like 27 packs, I think they said. But they're all different. It's a variety pack. So there's white and these kind of silvery and turquoise, I guess. Oh, these are nice. Someone's going to be happy with these. I'm not going to end up getting them. There's no bright orange, which is what I wanted. Bright orange and bright yellow. My favorites in my packs back home. Ooh, I kind of like these. These could be mine. You'll see what my kids let me have. But we've been needing dice. So we now have some. And my dad is wondering, I'm sure, if Mothership made it. It did not. It shipped a little bit slower than the stuff from Amazon, but it is in Managua. It's here. We just don't have it yet. So yeah, now I have a bunch of crinkly dice on my desk. That's a bit extreme. Anyway, so that's what we just got. And I'm excited because I've been waiting for that stuff. So it's pretty cool. And let's see where we are. Hola from Granada, Robin Hindall. D. Gilbert, what do you do for investments, Scott? Do you invest in the U.S. stock market? So traditionally we did invest in the U.S. stock market. We've pulled almost completely out and we invest in Nicaragua now. The U.S. is worrisome to a point where we're concerned about the investability in the U.S. So for us, we've actually started investing here. Douglas Solomon says, no difference. Sound level, your current feed is quieter than other YouTubers I've viewed in the last hour or so. Interesting. I mean, I can crank it up, I guess. But it's showing as being a really healthy level. I don't know. Hello, I have dice. I'm on the live stream, so. But look, we have packs and packs and packs of dice. And we have miniatures. And you have your pills. Your lactose pills. But look at all these dice, all these different colors.
It's a big bottle.
It is a big bottle. So you guys can pick out your primary dice. You guys get first pick. I can try to put them over there so you can hide off camera. And we got a big box of minis. And we have Daggerheart. Oh, that one fell out. How did that happen?
What's that?
No! There you go, take a look at those. And there you go. Okay. Ghost of Association of the Demon. Yes. What area do you recommend in terms of area close to the beach, not overcrowded with tourists, but safe? Most of the beaches are pretty good. You can get rougher beaches. That can be a concern. If you want to get away from tourists a bit, I like the Leon Loop, but that's the loop to the south rather than up here by the city. So there's basically no place overrun with tourists. As long as you're staying out of Rivas, and even most of Rivas doesn't have that. You can't take them all. Are you going to go pick somewhere? Oh, I see. My children are running away with all the dice so they can go pick which ones they like. See if you can figure out which ones I want. Oh, no. And Lisa lost them. Dice down.
We should pick 2 sets, right? Because we need a lot of dice.
Yeah. So southern San Juan, the San Juan del Sur area in southern Rivas has a tendency to be relatively touristy, so that can be where you don't want to be, right? Given the things that you just said. It's the most generally dangerous and definitely most touristy of the beaches, but it's really not a big deal. Like, it's perfectly fine. It's just, if those are things you're specifically concerned about, it would be the place that leans the most away from it. I've got a dog at my feet now. It's like all crazy in here today. But you've got lots of choices. I like Carazo, some of that. Some of those do get sketchy, and some are very safe. Like Boquita, I like a lot. Very few tourists there. I like the Leon Loop, so Transito, which is a little bit sketchy, but north of there, Gigante, Hermoso, and Valero, and the one I always struggle with the name of before Puerto Sandino. That area is pretty nice and not too far away, very few tourists, and pretty safe. Those are good. Those are actual beaches, right? Being close to a beach but not on a beach is very hard here. Like, it's just very hard to have that scenario. There's, obviously beaches, and then in nearly the entire country is just a gap with almost no population, and then all the population is inland a bit. So you can be not that far, but you wouldn't be close. At any of the beaches, you could be just off beach if you want to be close but not on the beach. So it's really the beach that you want to pick. Luke says that electric bill. Also, that's a big thing, right? Rent to figure out what your electric situation is because it's different everywhere. We're hoping that we got ours fixed now. We finally have a meter again. We went a year with no meter, paying nearly $1,000 a month. So not something you want to get stuck with if you can help it. Mystic says, how much does a car cost down there to get around? Do you mean to buy? Incredibly inexpensive. You can buy so my business partner bought a Suzuki for $20K. We bought a big SUV for $27K. These are all new. You can get into some a bit under $20K here. Like and these are real prices. It's not like in the U.S. where you get sticker and then you pay a whole bunch more when you actually do it. These are the real prices, right? It says 20, you pay 20. So the prices here are so low compared to what we're used to, and the selection is really good. So we're just amazed by there's so many cars and they cost so little. Is that really? Wow, that's so cool. In Digital says, seriously, there are many gated Western communities owned by gringos, gated, over-the-top safe. It's an alternative if you have the money. It could be an easy start, no developers and residents. I generally warn against those because, one, they tend to be less safe than the rest of the country. Not that they're unsafe. Everything's safe. But gated Western-owned communities lean towards where the most non-violent crime happens. That's where the scams happen. That's where the casual break-ins happen. A lot of that stuff. Are you looking at being shivved in your home? No, this is not Costa Rica, so that kind of stuff isn't happening here. Thank goodness. But a lot of the problems that people report come from those communities. Not that they're all bad, but they tend to be the most problematic, and they tend to be very expensive, and tend to lack a lot of the resources that you get other places. Not always, again, right? You can find once in a while some good ones, but mostly they're located in tourist zones and come with heavy cost, both financially and the one thing that I always say is they're not exactly an easy start. They're more in most cases they're avoiding a start. So if your goal is to never actually live here and you want to be a part, if your goal is to be a part, then obviously that's where you want to live, and that's fine. But if your goal is to integrate, then my limited experience is that the people who go to those end up never getting any closer to integration. It doesn't give you a starting point. It's also your finishing point. Basically everyone, there are exceptions, but basically everyone who chooses to go into those, that's it. Right? It's the end of the road. That's where you're ending. You may go to a different one, but you're not likely going to move on to being in Nicaraguan society. And that's one of the reasons why places like San Juan del Sur carry a bad reputation in the country, is because there's such a high percentage of people who go there to be apart from Nicaragua. There's so many of these gated communities in that one spot. Most of the ones in the country are in that one village. That may not be true, but it definitely feels like it's over 50%, right? We have whole cities without a single one, and then one that's 100, right? Even Managua probably doesn't have as many. I have, so many people I've spoken to have been scammed there to where they've lost their home because they never deal with anything but expats, and the expats take off with their deeds and all kinds of things. So that's where you need to be most cautious. It's where things will cost you the most, and it's where you will get the least out of Nicaragua. But if you don't want to get much out of Nicaragua, you just need to be here, and you're looking to avoid it, then they're perfect. Tiffany says, another live. Wow, it's every Thursday. Mystic says pizza. Mystic Pizza? That's a famous movie. There is pizza pretty much everywhere. Great pizza is very hard to find. San Juan del Sur has, people say, some pretty decent. Managua has some pretty decent. Outside of those, it gets pretty hard to find really good pizza. Every so often you can track some down. Matagalpa, which is, you know, the second biggest metro area, does have a little bit, but it's just a few, right? So it's challenging, right? I have a pizza oven at home for exactly that reason. Divting says, "Hola, amigos." Mystic says, "How old are your kids?" 14 and 17. How's the schooling down there? So there's a lot of options for schooling down here. We're full perm residents, so we have full rights to the education system, but we don't use the public schools. And the reality here is that the public school system is constrained or strained financially, and it lacks a lot of resources and options that you would wish that it would have in a lot of cases. So while it's free, which is excellent, and our kids have the right to use it, which is awesome, basically if you are below middle but approaching middle class in Nicaragua and have kids, you basically pay for your kids to go to private school. So private schools are everywhere and very popular, and it's, you know, I hate that has to be the system, but it is what it is. The public school does what it can, and it is true that the more kids that go to the private schools, the more resources there are for the public schools on a per student basis. But it does mean that there is a tiering system, and if your parents can't afford to send you to a private school, you are at a disadvantage in many cases. So that is unfortunate. Luckily for the university system, the public universities rank really well. The private ones don't necessarily have big differences. There are some that are a little bit more, but in general, they're relatively close. So most people that we know who are expats and have kids here either use private schools, of which there are loads to pick. You got here in my neighborhood, we're famous for a bunch of really good big private schools out in the rural areas that are really safe, but also tons of us, and some of them are Spanish, some of them are mixed, some of them are English, some of them are German, right? It's all over the place. You have lots of options with really good schools, and then tons and tons of expats, of course. Homeschool. We have lived in 8 countries. We come from the U.S. So for us, homeschooling has been long before we lived in Nicaragua already what we were doing. And luckily we're from Texas, so Texas doesn't classify it as homeschooling. We just call it that because we behave like homeschoolers. But Texas classifies us as a U.S. private school. So my kids will have U.S. private school diplomas, the same as anyone who goes to a private school in the U.S. So that's a high benefit, and I tell people, even if you don't have kids, but if you have kids especially, you need to establish Texan residency before you leave the U.S., and it protects you on so many things. It protects you on taxes, it protects you on residency, it protects you on schooling for your kids and resources, and all kinds of stuff. So that's for Americans, it's a big thing to know. But most of us, I would say most, do homeschooling, and what a great thing. You're living in paradise. You get to spend more time with your kids, and they have so much more time to spend with you, and you're in a new country. So we're really glad that we homeschooled in Spain and Italy and Greece and Romania and Ukraine, because it really gave them the opportunity to spend time in that country and get to know those places and interact with it, and things that if they were just in school all day, they would just be sitting in a classroom listening to someone lecture. And lose all of the benefits of being in a different culture. But instead they got to, homeschoolers need a fraction of the amount of time of classroom kids for the same things, and get to focus what they want to do a lot more. So there's so many benefits, and I wish so much I had homeschooled, honestly. But I did have a really good high school experience. So for me, being very social in a way that my kids are not, my public high school did give me a lot of benefits that otherwise I wouldn't have had. But homeschooling is really cool. If I was doing it in the era of internet, I certainly would want to homeschool slam dunk, no question. But I'm much older, so had I homeschooled, I'd have been very, very isolated, and I had no siblings, so I've been really isolated because I grew up on a farm. But my kids have the internet, right? So they're connected to all kinds of people all the time. and it remains more social. So homeschool is much more social than if they were in a classroom staring at the front of the classroom all day. So that's important for us in the way we have lived and the way we live now. And my kids know what they want to do with their lives, and homeschooling gives us a lot more capability to tune their education to what matters for them, rather than doing a generic thing and trying to push them on to another program later. Sean says, anyone have any recommendations to buy in and around Apoyo? Any help is very appreciated. I guarantee the only thing that's going to really help is getting there and driving those roads, and seeing what there is, and either seeing what's available or knocking on doors of what don't have signs and talking to people. There's, it doesn't hurt to ask, but I can tell you, nothing's going to help until you actually go and do it yourself and are living in the area and get to know exactly, because there's just so many houses, and so you'll really want to walk up and talk to people, because that'll open so many more doors, because most of the people who are willing to sell have never told anybody. So even if you knew every person in Apoyo and had a conversation with them, they'd be like, I don't know of any for sale, and it could be their next door neighbor, and it could be someone they know well, and that person's just like, oh, I'd actually like to sell. I didn't think that would be an option. Right. Luke says Toyota trucks are full priced, mostly because they're Casa Pellis and they've had a monopoly for so long, and now they don't. And so, why would anyone buy a Toyota here now? They make great vehicles, but it's not a good deal. Tiffany says, I thought you switched days because of yesterday. Nope, I just added a day. Mystic says, do you contribute or give back to the community in forms of charities, etc.? Is there organizations like that for kids? We absolutely do not. It is extremely strongly recommended that as a foreigner, as an expat, you do not become involved in charities of any sort. There are things that are a little bit different, right? Like animal rescues, okay, right? But beyond that, make sure you're staying away from that stuff. That is not, the country has seen so much harm and so much attempted harm through charities and nonprofits and NGOs. You do not want an association with them. That does not mean that there are no good ones. Of course there are. But those are, if you've never read Dark Star Safari, I would recommend never considering doing anything with a charity in your own country. Like, this charity gives food to kids. That's different. But when you're talking about like a foreign aid type charity, like it's helping in another country, make sure you've read Dark Star Safari, which is written by incredibly well-known author Paul Theroux. And he talks about how when he was young, he worked in the Peace Corps, and then as an adult, as older, like in his 50s or 60s, went back and visited places like Malawi and East Africa, where he had done so much Peace Corps work, and now as an adult realizes that he had been a pawn in helping to support terrorist groups, and how the charities, while often being well-meaning but not always, actually create massive damage in the countries that they're in most cases, and how things like donations undermine local businesses, undermine the spirit of the people, and how they generally are used to fund malicious organizations, even if it's accidental. So even if it's not Nicaragua, be super wary of charities in general. Just make sure you're not just like, you should automatically, when you're hearing nonprofit, go, ooh, even in the US, like the average nonprofit is just a money laundering scheme. Like, they're crooks like you wouldn't believe in so many cases. And I work in business consulting, right? So when we hear nonprofit, it's like, you gotta be careful. Because if you're an honest employee, assume you're just gonna be fired, right? That's just what happens. But if you're there to steal money, then obviously a nonprofit is the place to be, right? Because everybody makes their money the same way, right? Nonprofits don't make sense for the concept of employees. But here in Nicaragua, because so many, like 90+% of nonprofits are just foreign-funded agencies to do work on behalf of a foreign government, they're very often caught being very, very illegal. And if you're lucky, they just get caught being, financially irresponsible. And by the way, I got you guys new cables for. These are the only ones I get.
Oh, we just picked up 3 for everyone.
Oh, you picked up 3 for everyone. Okay, cool. This is the one I wanted. So, cool. Thank you. I got 3 packs of dice that are mine. Mine. Hi, precious. Did I show you Dagger Heart? It's sitting here.
Not yet. So I'll wait for you.
Oh, it's huge. Look how big it is. Bye. Okay. So in general, you want to avoid charities, but there's so many ways to give back to the community. You just don't do it via charities, right? In most cases. Now there are exceptions, right? Teamea in Las Pinitas, they're just there doing animal clinics, right? They're literally just saving cats and dogs. There's no money flowing through. There's no anything happening, right? There's no big organization. It's basically people doing spay and neuter programs and helping to vaccinate dogs. And you're right. And it's easy for the government to come monitor them. So if you want to volunteer and help round up dogs and cats and get them spayed and get them their rabies shots and those kinds of things, yes, that kind of stuff, that it can be done as a volunteer. But if you really want to give back to the community, in so many cases, it's, be here and be a good participant. For us, really big things is that these are really light dice. I like heavy, like solid. These are definitely cheap resin dice, but we didn't have any here, so I really needed to get some, and they will do. So for us, the way that we give back primarily, we do help sometimes directly in the community. When we needed to get the estuary dredged, we were the ones that put up food and housing and coordination and rounded up the troops to get the community together to go work with the federal government to get dredging equipment in, or not exactly dredging equipment, but not like boat dredging, but they use like backhoes and stuff. But they build a canal to get the estuary flowing again, and it saved a fishing village, right? So we were really excited that we were able to do that, and you can see a lot of that information in my 2021 videos when we lived on the beach. So there's lots of ways to give back, but the primary thing that we do is simply invest and employ. Right? Does it make sense to invest here? Are we making loads of returns? No, it's not financially the thing to do in most cases, but doing that and acting like a business and trying to make it a business, right? Trying to honestly do something that's good does a different thing than a charity. A charity has a tendency to give in ways that are non-organic, right? Someone's picking, this is where the money's going, not the community decides what it needs. Things don't flow through the processes that they generally do. They don't trickle through the way. They aren't lasting. Right, you may have a charity that's doing wonderful work. You could have a great charity that everything's above board, nothing's illegal, nothing's unethical, everything's perfect, and you're actually doing good, awesome. But you're dependent on an outside resource that's like putting in resources that then just get given away, and that's fine until it stops. And then either it just stops being good, or it actually has this like vacuum effect, and where things were built up and depend on it, and now they're gone, and then those things collapse. That's really bad. Whereas if you're investing, you have the organics of. Try not to run over my dog's tail here, because he's actually sleeping on my feet. But the little dog wants to come in the room. Hold on. I've got the two big ones are in here already. I'm gonna step over them to get to the door. Come on, little boy. Here's my little boy. Let me kill it all. Here's my good dog. All my good dogs. And so, if you have a business, that business will create jobs, right? And that's what people need here, right? In some countries, this is not the answer. But in Nicaragua, this is a really important answer. Create jobs, and even if you are no longer there, right? Oh, you decide to move on, or you get hit by a bus, right? That company can continue. And then that company continues employing, and those employees then buy groceries or pay rent or buy a car or have a side business, and that generates more jobs and does more things for the community. And that's the thing that people need, right? Because a real job that actually helps people pay the bills takes real families and puts food on the table, and also takes real people who need things to do and gives them something productive to do, and they feel good because they're doing a real job. and they're bringing in their income. It's not a handout, and they're able to spend it in the community, and they feel like they're participating in the community. You feel like you're participating in the community, and the people that they hire, hire, it could be there's a waiter at the restaurant that I go to. There is someone who stocks the shelves at the grocery store that I shop at, right? They may not hire someone directly, but they're creating jobs by participating in the economy. And all those people organically are going through the employment system and the work system and all those things, and the wheels of the economy move in good, healthy ways, whereas charities have a tendency to forcibly turn things that are not supported by the economy, right? It's like the free market doesn't need this, but we're going to put money in anyway. That generally doesn't work very well. But if you're like, okay, let's see what the free market is going to determine. We need a hot dog stand. We need a factory that makes chairs. We need a company that installs HVAC, air conditioners or whatever. You don't often install heaters here. They're just vacs here. By organically building that, right, you generally come up with something that's sustainable in some sense and sensible, and feeds into a healthy pipeline that encourages everyone to succeed, both emotionally and economically. If the issues that you have are that there is no fresh water in your country, then a charity that helps to find ways to get fresh water, that's different, right? That can help. But in reality here, every problem that we have that is easily identifiable is, sure, there could be a place that doesn't have a great well. How do we fix that? Well, we could put in a ton of money as a charity, try to come up with a way to do it, and then we're conflicting with the government, we're not organically working with the community, or we get everyone in the community a job, and then they're able to go out as a community and go, we need water, and then they're able to go and do the same things that other cities in the country are able to do and put in a water treatment plant or whatever using their tax dollars, and then that water treatment plant provides that community water, that community does better, then they're able to create more jobs because people have good clean water and so forth, and you create a sustainable water system using the mechanisms that are already there, right? Because there's people who know how to do water systems, and there's people who know how to build roads, and there's just not enough money to pay enough people to do enough jobs to do all the things they would like to do, right? The government does an amazing job with very few resources to go out and build awesome roads, put in fiber internet, maintain police forces, put in schools and trade schools and universities. But if they had more money, they could hire more professors and more teachers and more road construction people and more fiber splicers, right? And then more people would have nicer roads and more people would have, right? And then it's a snowball if you do it correctly, and the resources to do those jobs, right? If you want to do a road well, do you take a bunch of people from a community with some free time and just start putting slabs on the ground and hope that cars can drive on it? It's not the worst thing, but it's probably not the best. Or do you bring out experienced road crews who are training people and have processes to follow and have suppliers with good rates and knowledge of exactly how to build roads in the system, and are able to match the roads that are nearby, and you put in roads that with professionals who know what they're going to do. Obviously, one is better than the other, and the thing that's surprising is that it's generally cheaper too. And so going through that organic process can just do a world of good that other things may not. I'm a little bit off screen. Let's see. Do you contribute? Beverly says, Hi all. I missed last week because I was in Granada for my first exploratory trip. I did a ton of walking and a few touristy things. I want to see Leon in June or July. Awesome, Beverly. Hope to see you here. Nicaragua. Hey, Scott, are global politics a delicate issue in Nicaragua? Not at all. We're a very political country. People talk politics all the time. The biggest thing about global politics here is that Nicaragua is a very insular country, which is not exactly technically true, right? We're not an island. Insular technically means an island. But we act like an island from many perspectives. We don't have a lot of direct communications. I mean, obviously, we directly talk to Costa Rica and Honduras. Obviously. I'm not saying we don't. But there isn't like this huge interchange of things the way that there is in, say, Germany and France and Luxembourg and the Netherlands and Belgium talking to each other, right? They share an awful lot of everyday conversation. We do not. We're very just isolated as a country. Not because we want to be isolated. The nature of Nicaragua, the way that we are treated, the economics of the place, the lack of flights going places, we just tend to be isolated. And that isolation means that an awful lot of people simply don't take an interest in foreign politics because they're so separate from it and it's so far away and so hard to understand the context that it doesn't have much effect on everyday life. And none of the things happening in those other places, doesn't matter where it is, right? Sure, we're all thinking the Middle East, but you could be thinking Central Africa, you could be thinking Southeast Asia, you could be thinking the subcontinent, you could be thinking Siberia or the Far East, you could be thinking Oceania, you could be thinking Australia, it doesn't matter, right? You could be thinking scientific research centers in Antarctica. What do all those things have in common? That Nicaragua's foreign policy is, we're not there, we have no involvement whatsoever, right? Like that's... it was just a small country without the resources to be involved in those places, and so that is really what it ends up being like. So when you're like, oh, something tragic has happened in the Central African Republic, or Chad has an uprising, people just go, that's so far away and so far outside my ken, I feel bad for those people, but I don't know what's going on. Whereas Americans have I could go there, it's very accessible, and we're involved. It's so rare to have something happening in global politics where Americans aren't like, oh, I need to be aware because ethically I have to, like, vote or push or write to my congressman or something about whatever the right thing is. And so Americans have an obligation to know what's going on, and an interest because it does affect them. And Nicaraguans are just so separate and it doesn't affect them that most people don't take too much of an interest. But in general, politics are a very popular thing here, and global politics are, right. There's a big difference between foreign politics and local politics. When you live in... The U.S. is a confusing place, so it's not a good example. But let's say that you live in France. No, that's a very bad example because they actually have gag orders on... You don't have the right to opinions on the global political scene. Let's say you live in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and you want to have an opinion about politics in Southeast Asia. Under normal circumstances, you just... Nobody cares, right? Someone may not agree with you, but you can say anything you want anytime you want. Like, people just don't care. The government doesn't care, people don't care, neighbors don't care. Oh, Thailand is doing blah, blah, blah? We don't care. That's so far away. What difference does it make? But if you are Congolese, then your opinion of your local politics is important because they're yours. But just general global, you can always say whatever you want. Here in Nicaragua, we have a tendency to feel like there's some reason to have concern about talking about politics, because, like any realistic democracy, you must stop foreign influence in order to maintain a functional democracy. And so, because we, in groups like this, are basically all expats, I realize there are some Nicas in here, but we're basically all expats, so the conversation becomes, can we talk about local politics? Well, we can, right? We can talk about local politics. There's no limitation on that. The question is, can we become involved? So Americans often mistake, can you talk about, with can you influence? Because they like to actually try to force their opinion on things. Not all Americans, obviously, but American culture is one to force their desires on other countries. That is the nature of American foreign policy. So when Americans especially, but Canadians as well, are in other places, they have a tendency to see this, well, I should have a right not only to talk about and know about politics, I have a right to express my opinion on it and to pressure people, right, or try to convince them about it, which most countries do not agree that other countries' citizens have the right to do in their countries. And the U.S. certainly doesn't agree, right? You don't have the right to do that in the United States, right? So it's no different, right? So Nicaragua is the same as the U.S., that if you're Nicaraguan, you can say whatever you want, And if you're Nicaraguan, you can say anything about other places. In the U.S., you can say whatever you want if you're an American, and mostly you can say whatever you want about other places, but not completely. Right, so Nicaragua has more political freedom from my perspective than the Americans do, right? I don't know any Nicaraguan who is as constrained as Americans are in their own country. Not that we're badly constrained, but some, right? We're not as bad as France, for example, or England, which are pretty bad, right? Those are some of the worst places. But we tend to see it as, well, but we want to talk about these politics. We want to be involved. That's a very specific case that nowhere in the world do you realistically get to do that. But for some reason, it feels like a special case here because there's so many Americans and Canadians, and at such a high rate want to do this thing that is none of their business. But when so then that spills into, right, you can't attempt to influence. Americans interpret as you can't talk about, which is just a lie, and then it becomes another, extrapolation. Oh, you just can't talk about politics because Americans see everyone else's politics as their own, right? They see, because of the colonialism, they have a tendency. We're taught that all of the world belongs to the U.S. and the Americans have the right to an opinion or to force the situation on other places, right? And if you don't think that that's true, go look at the news. That is literally what's going on in Venezuela, in Cuba, in Nicaragua, in Iran, in Yemen, in where else are we actively involved? Right now, South Africa, and so forth. Today, not theoretically sometime out in the future or in the past, right now going on actively today, all of those places the U.S. is attempting to force colonial opinion upon foreign countries. So that perspective makes people often from those regions feel like there's some kind of limitation here that it's just the same as everywhere else. All right. Are scooter rentals a better idea than car rentals cost-wise? I'm sure they cost less. There are very few. And where do you plan to go with them? Do you plan on taking a scooter all the way across the country, or are you just renting to go around some little area? Why are you renting at all? Of course, is a good question. There are extremely few scooter rentals. I actually don't know of any. I know they do exist, but they're rare enough that I wouldn't know how to rent a scooter. They're probably pretty cheap. On the island, I'm sure I could find a place easy, but for most of us, you can't. Sean Ellis says, a Jimny is what I'd buy. A lot of people really like Jimnys. Those are really cool. Suzuki makes just great vehicles, so they're pretty cool. Tiffany says, I provide my time rather than funds to what I believe. That's so unfortunate, but so true about charities. Volunteering for animals, children, and seniors. Mystic says, there's no way to help. So there's no way to help people out, to help out the people directly. Well, I think that's true anywhere, right? If you want to go help a person directly, you always have that problem of, I'm showing up to your house and I'm here to give you something, which is a great idea, right? But how is that sustainable? If you want to help someone directly, hire them. Right. So what is it that someone is going to cause someone to need help? Let's look at this. It's a great example. So there's someone in your community who needs help. So this is a society that provides. Obviously, there's going to be exceptions, but tremendous amounts of help to everyone who needs it. Right? And someone's going to be like, what about, and there's going to be something, yeah, we're not saying 100% of the time, but we're saying compared to a lot of countries, the rate at which help is available, the rate at which the attempt to help people is really high. And the thing that limits, so the government is going to provide a lot of help, but where the government is limited and where people need the most help is in jobs. Right, that is the national crisis. So when you're thinking, I want to help people out, what kind of charity do you think you would want to be involved in? The number one thing, the thing that makes the most difference, is employment. Right. So, yeah, it would be cool to open a school that teaches English to kids, and there are things you can do. Right. It's not 100% you can't do anything, but I definitely would not do anything until you've been here for many years and really have an understanding of what you're doing, who you're doing it with, how it's going to impact places, right? I've been here for forever. I know everybody, and people are still wary of when I'm like, hey, I want to do a project and help with a school thing. And a lot of people are like, I don't know, right? So you do want to not take it casually. But all those things, right? Teaching English or helping with a school building program or, getting electric in somewhere, none of those are priorities because all of them are caused by the poverty, and the poverty is caused by the lack of employment, right? This is a direct chain, right? The government doesn't have enough money because not enough people are working, so they're focused heavily on providing basic services to a population with 50% unemployment, right? That's hard. Now, can you dramatically move that needle as an individual? Even if you're a 100 millionaire, you can't dramatically move that needle. But you can move the needle. Like you can inch it in a good direction. You can do a lot of good, right? How do you do the most good? Employ people, right? And if you're like, well, but I don't want to invest, or maybe I have no idea how, or I'm super scared of starting a business. Understood. Totally understand. How do you do this in a way that doesn't involve starting a business, right? Now, if the first thing that runs through your mind is, you know what? I've got a buddy who needs someone to manufacture chair legs, and I bet we can get the wood here, and I know woodworking, and I can ship in the equipment, and I could train people, and I have a buyer in Canada, and I could manufacture chair legs here in great quantity and ship them on boats to Canada, and I could employ easily 8 people doing that. By all means, start that factory. Yes, if that's what your brain just went to, do that. You've got an amazing opportunity. But if you're like normal people and you want to help, but you don't know how to start a factory and you don't have access to a market to ship products to, then how do you make that difference? Well, if you have the ability to do it, hire a cuidador, hire a security guard, hire a maid or a housekeeper or a cook, right? Identify the thing that's going to help you or that would make you happy and have someone help with that, right? If you have plenty of resources, if you actually have loads and loads of money, and we don't mean impossible numbers, right? I just mean more than the average retiree, and no interest in investing, then go hire a private doctor and a private nurse and a cook for the daytime and a cook for the nighttime and a driver and a bodyguard if you want, or a private shopper if you want, or a handyman, or a construction crew, or a 24-hour security, right? The list is endless. Like, you could employ a dozen people without blinking to make your life incredibly, and yes, it's incredibly luxurious, but is it really for that purpose? Or is it to create a bunch of jobs? And then be a wonderful employer. Oh my gosh, your kids are sick today? Don't come to work. I have plenty of staff. I have no need for you to be here. Not in reality. I can certainly cook for myself or clean up after myself or let it wait for tomorrow, right? Go take care of your family. It's a holiday. Go enjoy the holiday, right? Be a good employer. Just being a good employer, pay 5%, maybe 10% above normal market for that job. Don't do something weird, right? Instead of doing something weird, if you're like, well, I really like this position, I feel like I should donate money to this person. Always the wrong answer. Instead, say, okay, so I could pay this person double what the market rate is. If there were the one unemployed person in the country, that might be fine. But there's so many people who need a job. Instead, hire 2 people. Make a really big difference for multiple families instead of a crazy difference that's so big that it'll drive people to do drugs with a single family. Right? That is a far better use of the resources. Organic is almost always best. Right? Sustainable things. And the difference you could make by doing that is so much bigger than a normal charity. I don't know any charity in the country that points to, other than animals, that points to things that like, look at all the good we did, right? Look at the direct people that are impacted. There's a little bit. There's websites everywhere, but most of them don't have pictures from here, right? They're just slop. It's not real in most cases. Always an exception. But you start hiring people, you know which family is able to celebrate Easter this year because of your employment. You know who's putting food on the table. You know which kids are able to now go to private school instead of public school. You know who's able to enjoy their holiday without stress because you employed them, right? You can make a positive difference, and you can have staff do wonderful things. Oh my gosh, I have so much staff, I'm not really sure what to do with them. You know what? I've got a security guard who has no security to do, so what does he do? He gardens all day. Is he my gardener? No. I have a gardener. Right? I'm not getting rid of my gardener just because my security guard can garden. So what does he do? He goes into the spot where we don't have a garden and makes a food garden, right? Because my gardeners handle my flowers and my trees. But my security guard, when he's not opening the gate, like you can hear the gate sometimes out there, that's the security guard letting people in and out. When he's not doing that, he's growing watermelons and corn, right? Out back and watching over the cats. And, pay people to take care of your cats and dogs. Have 100 of them. Give someone the full-time job of being cat snuggler. These are fantastic ways to make a positive difference in people's lives, in animals' lives, in the overall environment of the country. Because those people you employ pay taxes. And those taxes are not funding foreign wars. They are not funding harming people. They are funding roads and internet and schools and parks and dredging ports and new public transportation and green energy initiatives and tourism campaigns. That doesn't happen too much, but you get the idea. Your taxes here go to positive things at a pace you would never fathom coming from a Western country. So if you can employ someone and get them onto the rolls, that their tax money is helping their neighbors and their employment is helping their neighbors. Employing one person has an amazing impact on a small community. It helps a barrio change or a village change. And if you can employ 10 people, you could really be a major positive influence in a small community or a small neighborhood. So don't think of it as a lack of opportunity, that it's difficult because there aren't these charities to go through. Think of it as there is so much opportunity to do so much good. And when you do it that way, you don't have to be afraid that you're doing it in some dangerous way. Employment is the healthy path where all the mechanisms are in place and millions and millions of people go through this program and it works. And you get to participate in this really good way. That, I think, is the real way to look at it, right? Don't look at it and say, oh, look at this negative. Go, wait, no, there's a huge positive here. We just have to realize it. Luke says, want to be charitable? Direct donation, no administration, no expectation of tax write-offs, no organization. I sponsor a youth band completely out of my own pocket. Another example, we sometimes get like baseball teams, like local kids baseball teams or soccer teams. Could be a basketball team, never seen one of those, but never seen one of those asking for like support. But bands and artistic things where they're like, it's kind of like the Girl Scouts, they come around and they're like, would you like to sponsor our thing? And mostly they don't ask that, right? The good, legitimate ones rarely actually ask. But you can track them down, you can find them, and help with that kind of stuff for sure. Tiffany says, that's how I got that one husky rescued. I used all the networks I made through social media, and they rescued the sweetie. Nothing truly requires money, just time and possible resources. Especially with the animals, there's unlimited activity that you can do to help out in those areas safely. Right? Tiffany says, I'm not even in Nicaragua yet, and I've already started. You employ folks, you do a lot that way. I employ scores of people here. Even my house, you guys don't normally hear about, like I have, hotels that employ people and things like that. And I have unrelated to Nicaragua employment things that exist as well. But like here in my home, I do this exact thing, right? So I'm not saying do this, I don't do this. This is exactly how we help contribute, right? I have a housekeeper, I have a handyman, I have a driver, I have a full-time security detail, I have a gardening crew. So it's it's 4 people, but I use them part-time, so it counts. It's the equivalent of 1 person. We use a quarter of their time of 4 people is roughly how it works out. So it's the equivalent of 1 person. We use the local. We don't do our own garbage. We pay a guy to do garbage. We're certainly not his employer, but he's very poor. He has a horse-drawn cart, but we pay on the very high side. So we act like probably the equivalent of roughly 3 customers, and we generate a lot of trash. So we pay him a bit. So he noticeably has a higher income because of us, but nowhere near hiring a person. Is that all of the? Oh, and then we have a major domo, right? So that's, what is that? 8 people that we employ for our house alone, right? And do we need all of those? I'm not sure we need any of those. It wasn't that long. When we lived in La Boria, we didn't have a single one of those. And then when we moved here, it was like, well, there's a whole bunch of opportunity here to. For us, it makes our lives way better. Having someone do our laundry, someone do our cleaning, right? They clean the floors every day. They clean out the cats, litter, because we have lots of animals, so they help with the kids, with the cats. They cook for the kids throughout the day, so the kids don't need to go in the kitchen. The kids can just be like, hey, I want a sandwich, and then a sandwich shows up or whatever. All these things are going on all the time, and it's fantastic. And so having that staff, and because we have a bigger place, having a handyman, and we never had a place for a security guard before, like we just couldn't. Now we can. We have so much space. It really is nice. It's nice for me when I go out to feed the cats at night that I'm in several acres of empty, wild area. It's really nice having a security guard with a flashlight nearby. Even if I just fall and get hurt in the darkness, it would be nice to have someone there. And, we had a cat be killed, which was super sad recently, and our security guard is who buried it with me, right, and helped out with those things, and they helped, right, what if an ambulance is coming, or what if an emergency vet is coming. It's the security guard who opens the gate, lets them in, directs them where they need to go while we're dealing with the emergency. It's security who stays with my kids. If I go out for the evening, right, this is huge, right? Now, if you don't have kids or anything, but I have kids and dogs and cats, and we want them to be safe. Not just, people are like, are you really afraid of people jumping over the wall and attacking your house? No, I'm afraid of my kids falling and getting hurt and not knowing how to get an ambulance. I'm afraid of the dog getting loose and no one knowing how to catch it. I'm afraid of, a dog getting in with a cat and having them get attacked. I'm worried about my kids just being scared because they're alone and kids, right? All those things are solved. I'm worried that they're going to fall asleep and I can't check on them. I can call the security guard and they can be like, no, the house is quiet, right? And nothing's happened, right? I'm worried that my kids want to order food. They're not going to go out and take a delivery. They're scared of that, right? And that's not a terrible thing. I have daughters, and having them go out onto the main street in the darkness to wait for a pizza delivery, that's not something I actually want them doing. It would be kind of nice if they felt confident that they could, because they're a little bit shy of the world, but also my wife certainly wouldn't do that either. She would just be very uncomfortable doing that. She'd be like, this is awful. I don't want to be in the dark. I don't want to stand on the street in the middle of the night. I don't want to be out here waiting for things. And she doesn't have to. The security guard will go get her pizza and deliver it into the house, right? So is it really about safety? Not in a lot of cases, but it does give. Right? We've had to deal with strokes. We've had to deal with grabbing ambulances. We've had to deal with animal emergencies. And we've had wild animals get into the house. I can't tell you how many snakes our security guard has handled for us. And we're not talking like casual snakes. We're talking very venomous snakes. I didn't have to deal with them. And my kids certainly didn't have to deal with them. They're out there protecting not just my family, but my dogs too, and my cats. The cats don't tend to run into those things, but, right. This stuff adds up. There's a lot of value here to us. And, I think we're pretty good employers. People like to keep working for us, right? This is where they want to be. It's very low-key when my security guard during the day is like, hey, I'm going to go for a bicycle ride and go get some tortillas. Like, hey, have fun, right? Like, okay, I'll watch the gate, like, whatever. It really does. It really does make a difference. Husky, taking families out for dinner, little things count. We did the same in my home country. Employ folks. Luke says, why drive? More a driver? Why cook clean? Hire domestic assistant. Hire a Spanish tutor. Oh, Spanish tutor, perfect one, right? We did that for a while. Hired someone to teach Spanish. John Mason, oh, this can't end well. So much for dogs being able to nap. Oh. Hello. I'm on my live stream. Wait, they're doing their own move to their own facility. Ah, okay. Okay, so they're going to do a lift and shift. Wait, it's in the same facility? Oh. Right, okay, I think I'm following. Okay, and then we're going to slowly try to... I am. I'm like, I don't think I missed a ticket. I'm looking at the tickets right now. Because you know how Thursdays are. I'm terribly sloppy on Thursdays, so... but I'm like, I'm watching it. I'm sorry. Okay, cool. So we have a momentary reprieve, basically, and but yep, good. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Right, good to know. Now we can die in 90 days. Alright, awesome. Yep, I will, and we can strategize tomorrow and see what the next plan is. So, alright, cool. Have a good night. Bye. Sorry about that, guys. So much for the dogs being able to nap. Nicaragua, is gambling legal over there? There's so much gambling here. Yes, gambling. So I don't know if all gambling is legal, right? But lots of gambling is legal. Like, first of all, can you just have a poker game? Yeah, of course you can. This is not the States. I don't know any place in the world where you can't just have a poker game except the States. There are casinos everywhere. There are bookies. I don't gamble, so my knowledge of it is low. But we have lottos like other places. We have, regular bookie services, loads and loads and loads of casinos. They're not great casinos. They're tiny in most cases, but they do exist. How is the Seminole Tribe of Florida investing in Nicaragua? I'm not aware that they are. Are you thinking of the Seminole Hotel that's now gone? Like, there's a famous, the Seminoles had some, attempt at an investment. But I guess, so the question is, how is the Seminole Tribe of Florida investing in Nicaragua? I mean, anyone can invest in Nicaragua. There's no limitation on that, so they would just be like anybody else. Are they... Are they actively doing anything? I'm not really aware of any. In 2005, they had a small investment portfolio here that was advertised somewhere. Whether that's accurate or not, I have no idea. But there was the famous Seminole Hotel here, so they did invest in having a hotel, but pretty small. Like, I invest in having hotels here too. I mean, they invested more than I did. They've got a lot more than I do. But they're just, I think, looking at it as divestiture, right? They want to have variety in their investments, and so having stuff that they have expertise in here is important. But their investments here, to the best of my knowledge, are long gone. Can you explain the connection? This is Mystic. Connection they have with Costa Rica, El Salvador, and Guatemala. Oh, do you just mean they being Nicaragua? Yeah. So Costa Rica and Nicaragua long ago, and we're talking 1,000 years ago, were the same country, right? So we have a very strong cultural affinity with Costa Rica, and we have a big border with them. We're physically like really close. By the way, because Jillian's on. Jillian, we got our packs of dice for D&D. They have arrived, and Jillian, who's on, is in my D&D group, and we got a huge new game packet. Super exciting. And the kids took them away, but so we got I think 27 packs of dice came, and a few books, and a box of miniatures, but not the paints. The paints should be just arriving in Managua soon. So we have this traditional, like Costa Ricans and Nicaraguans feel very similar in like what they like to eat, how they behave, their tendency towards what a good night out is, that kind of stuff, like how families kind of are structured. They tend to feel very similar, but politically they have no alignment. Once upon a time, this is all Central America. Costa Rica left the Central American group. Obviously, Central American Confederacy broke up, right, long ago, 1823, but Costa Rica left that group and aligned itself with the United States and became very northern looking. The other four have remained close and very, very tightly associated. So Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala function as a single country with a shared border zone called the CA4, the Central American 4. When we use the reference Central American 5, it means Costa Rica being included, but that's an unofficial term. The CA4 is an official term for the four countries that are still united legally as a single border entity, and under Nicaraguan constitution, they are a state within the nation of Central America, even though they are acting sovereign and have domestic defense. So the four, Nicaragua and the Northern Triangle, as they are known, the Central American Four, are very tightly associated with heavy communications, big border transits. They do loads and loads of work together. It's easy for citizens of the four to move around within them, all kinds of stuff like that. So we tend to have really good relationships with the countries to the north and somewhat chillier ones to the south, but still things are fine with Costa Rica, right? It's not like there's animosity. There's just kind of a very different vibe between the two countries, and their place in the world is very, very different. And so now, in the years since, Nicaragua and the Northern Triangle feel very similar. But Costa Rica now, given the distance in time and association, feels very different than its Central American cousins do. So that's kind of how I would. But all of them, it's open borders or easy borders, and very, very easy to move around and to do things. How long would it take to transfer a property title? You'd normally assume a few weeks. If you absolutely needed to, you could pull it off in a couple days. Why you would need to transfer a title really fast, I don't know, but it could happen, I guess. Some people get lazy and don't really push, or your lawyer's kind of lazy, or it's hard to track things down. You know, if you don't have all your ducks in a row, then it could take a few months, but that's true anywhere. But that's if your ducks aren't in a row, right? So it's not the transfer that's the issue. The transfer is very, very quick and easy. Jillian says, hey everyone. John Mason says, a coworker insisted we needed to take out the Iranian regime. I asked if he felt strongly enough about it that he would put his own child in the front lines, because that is what you're asking of another parent on the foreign U.S. political topic. Yes. Yeah, everyone's very interested in regime change because they want oil until it's their kid who has to go do it. Tiffany says, it's so true. I grew up with staff and they became and are still family of sorts. We had parties with them and all. Learning Spanish language. Greetings, Squirt. Shoot. From Managua, David Cross. Yes, everyone points out that I look just like David Cross, and it's true. He is super handsome. Hugs, Tiffany. See you around. I get a college class in 10 minutes. Tiffany says, good day. Mexican Righteous. Wow, you're exactly right. Us Americans should be aware of what our taxes are used for. We are funding all these wars, while in Nicaragua your taxes are funding helping people, not harming people. It really is. You notice, right? In the U.S., you're like, where did my taxes go? Why can't I have health care? I paid so much money in taxes. Why do I get no say in where it goes? And then in Nicaragua, you're like, well, I just pay a little bit in taxes, and somehow I get more back. So I'm clearly not funding anything else because I'm getting all the stuff from my taxes, right? My health care is free, my roads are in good shape, and of course, it's a poor country, so there are things they can't afford, but it's pretty good. James says, hello all from the Bay of Fundy. How is Stray Cats doing? At the moment, our stray cats are doing pretty well. We had a little scare last night because they got a little bit close to the dogs, but the two mothers are doing well. We're getting ready to get towards spaying season with the two of them. The stray kittens outside seem to be healthy. The little babies we have not found yet, and the strays that are now in the house are super happy and just the sweetest things. I want to get them on the show. They're getting big, and they just love to be held, and they snuggle so much. They sleep in my daughter's bed all the time. They are adorable. Mexican Righteous says, if I move to Nicaragua, I will need you as my tour guide, Scott. Lunch is on me. Well, thank you. I need a little bit more than lunch to take time off to be a tour guide, but I'd be happy to have lunch. I do love doing tours. I want to do show guided tours. I have no idea how to make that work, but that I would love to do. Have like groups of you guys come and get on the show and go, oh, my dad said good night. Sorry. Good night, Dad. Love you. It's early. Learning says, hugs Tiffany from Managua. I am studying computer engineering at Universidad Nacional de Ingeniería, Nicaragua. It's my 5th major I study. I will see you later. That's in Managua, right? Or is that the new one in Piriamba? Nicaragua needs a couple mongoose to get rid of all those snakes. For the most part, the snakes are fine. Mostly it's just people freak out about them. I do like mongooses, though. They're cool. Seminoles are divested from the cattle ranch. Interesting. My dad said goodnight. Want to see Nikas and Tigas argue? Ask who created Gallo Pinto. Our Balaji is here. Hi, bro. How's it going, guys? All right, 22 people on. We're doing pretty well. I've taken my obligatory call during the show, which seems to happen all the time. So what do you guys got going on? What's up this evening? It was actually more active last night, which just blew my mind. Oh, I can go back and... Do we have questions to answer? Oh, that's a good question. All right, let's get back to that. My dad says I lasted over 2 hours. Have a good night. Our Balaji says, I'm from India. Well, welcome to the show. Airline pilot. I'm going to guess, going out on a limb here, he likes to fly. What do you think about U.S. Army veterans who served in Operation Desert Storm? What do I think about them? Like, that's I don't know why it matters what I think about them. Is the question what Nicaragua thinks about them? Or, you know, I've had friends who served in Desert Storm. Unfortunately, you know, as an American, it's tough, right? Because that was done using our tax dollars to do damage to our country, and, you know, I feel like I was taken hostage as an American and held at gun's point to take my taxes and use it to harm people abroad. And so it's very hurtful. Right, but I know people were tricked into it and coerced, and a lot of people joined before, you know, people didn't join to go fight in Desert Storm. They joined thinking, you know, that they were somehow being involved in defense. So it's tough because, you know, you start off with a group of people who, you know, obviously with exception, mostly are like, I'm here to, you know, serve my country and I want to protect my country. And then the government says, okay, but hear me out, let's do something that's incredibly harmful to our country, is we have to lie about it, and we're going to go harm poor people in other places, and we'll arrest you, and we're going to lie about it so you don't have any information about it, right? And the only thing you can do is look back at Vietnam and look at Korea, but even that, there wasn't a lot of information. How many people, even in the military, who not that they have more information, but they have a higher interest rate, a higher level of interest in these things. How many people in the military look back at like Korea and go, "Oh man, Korea wasn't that bad from our perspective, wasn't it? Like, why was there a war there? Because the United States colonized South Korea at gunpoint. Wait a minute, we did? Yeah, and we put a dictator on the throne, and we controlled it as a colony, and North Korea came to free their citizens from a colonizing army in the South who fought back desperately." Oh, that's a really different perspective on the war. Right, the U.S. doesn't teach what happened to set up the war. They only talk about how we defended our colony, right? And so even going back to Korea, it's like, oh, should we have been doing that? Vietnam, obviously we know, everyone knows we shouldn't have been doing that. We were purely there to support a French colony and slaughter people, right? And then came out of Vietnam and did the same thing in Nicaragua, right? Trying to destroy Nicaragua, and then tried to slaughter Iran, and then Grenada, and then Libya, and then, right? So all these things, you can look at history, and so there is some aren't people responsible, but most people get, brought into the military at an age where they don't really have access to those resources, right? Desert Storm was pre-internet. So people going into Desert Storm all they had was, well, my teachers didn't tell me any of this, and no one directed me to stuff at the library or anything like that, and information isn't widely available, and what information is easily accessible is complete propaganda. So it's during that era, right? Was Desert Storm the United States behaving well? No, absolutely not. But were the people on the ground in a position, with some exception, obviously, but with any general amount of information, any real possibility on scale to have the necessary information to make those calls, right? Not very likely, right? So it's a very difficult thing because obviously, we know that we're involved in another country that's none of our business. But there's so much propaganda in the U.S. that, oh no, it's our job to, take over the world, right? And it's our job to enforce anti-democracy. Like, that one does surprise me that they're able to get we're here to stop democracy is such a well-supported thing. But, it's a difficult thing, right? And I think most people who served in Desert Storm are torn on that because now they know what that was for and why it was done. And I think, likewise, a lot of tons and tons and tons of veterans from Nicaragua and from Vietnam and from Korea, right? There's not too many veterans from Korea now, but, over time became really horrified at what they were, tricked into doing. So it's tough because, right, I was about that age. I was too young for Desert Storm by, I want to say 2 years. Very close. So I remember it happening very, very well. Like, I was old enough to know everything that was going on, like, from the news perspective. But was just too young to have, serving was not an option. I was probably 15. And if I remember correctly. And so I didn't have to worry about making those kinds of decisions. But it was at an age when I was being, heavily recruited by the Air Force. And, and looking back, it's easy to be like, well, I certainly toyed around with the idea of, back then I was in much better shape. I could probably have actually got in. And it's like, that sounds cool, and there's a lot of neat things that happen there, and they do research and go places and travel, and, it's easy to see why a lot of people would end up there, right? So that perspective is important, right? It's not like now, right? Now there's no hiding it. Now there's no denial of why people are serving overseas, and I think that has changed, right? I can't fathom someone trying to make an excuse to me that they, right, aren't outright have turned on their country, right? Because as an American, right, all the involvement in Iran to me is a direct attack on me. It is to take away my now, right, this current action is to take away my freedoms. It's to take away, you know, I know that they're slaughtering Iranians, but they're doing it to use it as a tool to control and start to take away freedom of speech and freedom of the press and to get martial law on the streets of the United States. So it's very different now. So Airline Pilot says, so you'd still have respect for those guys who served in Desert Storm. Would you still be thankful for those guys who served in Operation, for all the veterans who turned back home? Who returned back home? Is that what you meant? So would you still have respect for those guys who served in Desert Storm? Would you still be thankful for those guys? I'm thankful for and respect. I think that goes hand in hand. I don't think you have one without the other, or I don't think I do. I'm not saying those are impossible to separate. I'm saying I don't think to me. Those people who honestly went to serve, yeah, absolutely, I have respect and I'm thankful for that in Desert Storm. I think there are people in the know, right, that were aware of what they were doing and you know, have accountability for that, but that's got to be less than 1%, right? The people who are flying planes and dropping in parachutes and carrying supplies and on the ground, right? They're getting the same misinformation as everyone else, or no information, which in most cases no one was getting information, right? So it's having been at that age, right, and knowing what the message was like and what the feeling was like in the ground. And I grew up in the country, right, so there's a lot less access to information, but in that pre-internet age, the amount of, you know, it's just advertising. There was no information about what American foreign policy was, what it was doing, why it was doing things. And they pushed things like the Monroe Doctrine, which have obviously nothing to do with Desert Storm, but concepts like that were very common, and so it's easy to see back then how any of us could have, you know, I got lucky that things like Desert Storm made joining a lot less attractive, and I had other opportunities that came up that made it that, you know, I would never have really considered it by that age, but just a little bit before that age, those things. I think the biggest thing for me was because I'm colorblind and wear glasses, things that I felt would be really interesting, like flying in the Air Force, which of course I was never going to qualify for regardless, right? But being who I am, being autistic, having that like, oh, because of these things, you don't qualify, was very off-putting. It was like hatred, right? It was like, wow, I would never serve. No, I did not serve, right? And that's why I completely ruled it out, was that thing that because of being genetically colorblind, not being allowed to do core jobs was so offensive that I was like, well, right. But I got offered, the Air Force offered me I want to say $65,000 signing bonus in '92, which was pretty good at the time, because they used to advertise on the radio, right? Join up, and they would say you could get up to, and the amount they offered me was 4 times what the up to number was, and I'm like, wow, that's not the real up to. I can't believe that they don't advertise this number. But no, I was fortunate to never serve. To have to serve, right? That's because it's not fun. But I got really lucky and ended up at a university that was really, really good. My first choice that I didn't think I could get into. And so it just ruled out a lot of options for me, because that is what I wanted to do. So no, never even, no, that's not true. I did talk to recruiters. I did have that conversation. And Americans have to go through, you're forced to go through the ASVAB. And they force you to talk to recruiters. It's very casual, like there was no pressure. But if you'd ever had the opportunity to serve in the Air Force, would you have wanted to serve in Area 51? I don't feel like, yeah, wait. Brent says, yikes, the audio, what's going on? All right. Where? But Lee J says, "Hi, bro. Where are you from? I live in Nicaragua. Been here for 11 years. I missed that earlier. And then he said, I am from India. Sorry that I missed you asking where I'm from. Yep, I live in Western Nicaragua. Bro, I love USA. Nicaragua says, do you think Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica will ever recreate the Federal Republic of Central America again? So Costa Rica, no. I have no belief that they are, I'm not saying it's impossible, but no belief that they will do that. That just seems really unlikely, just across the board, right? Not something that they have ever expressed an interest in. They have expressly gone way out of their way to not be doing that, so very hard to believe that that would happen. Not impossible, obviously. Things can change, but it just doesn't seem likely. But the other four legally are bound to recreate it. So does that mean they definitely will? No, it has been 203 years, but they are all mandated by law, their own laws, to work towards some level of reintegration. And they do still recognize as the CA4, they are a single border zone, and on paper they are still they're not a federal republic, but they are a confederation. Bro, you love India? I've never been. Luke says, Nikas are very supportive of U.S. veterans here. They definitely are, for the most part. Very, very supportive, like as a general thing. Brian says, weekend is consumed with moving our corporate offices. Fun starts early tomorrow. Been a busy week. Wow. Where are you moving to? Diego says, yo, would you still have respect? Driftless Bliss. Hello, I'm interested in Matagalpa. What do you know of the temperature climate compared to Grenada, as well as the affordability compared to the main expat areas when renting an apartment or home? So first of all, Luke lives up there, so he's a direct reference. Matagalpa is much cooler than Grenada. One of the reasons I stopped living in Grenada is because we actually found Leon to feel cooler, right? Let's be clear, it's not cooler, but it feels cooler to us, maybe only us, but we felt that this was a cooler spot for us, mostly because of more of a breeze, right? We know that the actual number on the thermometer is higher. That is true. We know it's true, it is, but we feel just the tiniest bit more, refreshed being here than being in Grenada. Grenada was hot, like hot. And just, it felt like it sat in the city. But it is only a little bit cooler than Leon. I think it's not as cool as Managua, at least not the parts of Managua that I frequent. But Matagalpa is very nice weather, still warm, but very pleasant. And it is much cheaper. The main expat areas like Grenada and San Juan del Sur are significantly more expensive than the rest of the country. Matagalpa is just the tiniest bit more expensive than here in Leon. So we notice that Grenada is much more expensive. We notice that San Juan del Sur is much more expensive. We don't notice Matagalpa being different. We know it's slightly more, but it's not noticeable. Luke says, every few years, the military industrial complex needs to field test new weapons for global sale, so we create problems just to justify the use for future sales. Famously, they tested aerial bombardment long ago in Acatal. First city ever to be aerial bombarded, and it was during peacetime. The U.S. bombarded Acatal out of nowhere here in Nicaragua. But the question about Area 51, I just can't really guess that I would be interested in that. It doesn't sound particularly interesting. For the people who don't know, Area 51 is in New Mexico, and I've never once said, you know where I want to be? New Mexico. Would I visit for a week? Sure, I bet that'd be fun. Have I driven through? I have. Would it be interesting? I don't know. I'm not one of those people who find Area 51 to sound interesting. I'm sure if I worked in the Air Force and was involved in ordnances or involved in like test aircraft and got to do that stuff at Area 51, I would be excited. But if I was like a mechanic or As I likely would have been someone in like a communications department, I'm sure I would have absolutely hated that posting. Or just not gotten it, obviously. But would not have wanted that posting. Oh, Diego says there's big noise. Why did no one say anything? Where's the noise coming from? So I've got this cranked up some. Does that help? But now my voice is lower. Where could the noise be coming from? Because I'm on XLR mic from this into the Streamer X. I did restart it this week. There's no other... Wait a second. Is that just blinking? There's another mic showing activity even though it's muted. What happens now? Does it anything? No, that does nothing. Where's their noise go? Oh, fan sound. So the thing is, there's no fan over here at all. There's a small fan on a light way over there, and this is here. So how is that picking it up? I'm going to go look at the camera and see if I can shut off the mic on the camera. Okay, first question is, did that change anything? I have another theory. I'm going to go look something up. Tell me what that did, first of all. It changed the image color, I'm aware. Total mute? Total mute of the fan noise? You still hear me, right? That solved it. Okay. Okay, so I'm not sure what the actual cause of the problem is, but I do now know why this has been an issue. That didn't go away. So help me remember this, guys. Okay, my voice is much lower now. That I can probably fix. All right, does that help? Oh, it is lower. Holy cow, I can see it's lower, but I now know why it's lower. So the reason it's lower is because the mic on the camera, which is not a good mic, right? It's just the monitor on the camera. There's no like mic attached to it because I have this mic. Is sitting over there by the studio light. It's not supposed to be being used by the system, but it was picking something up, so I had two mics on my voice. So that was playing a role in that getting to me, in the audio getting in. And so I switched it from vlog mode to regular video mode. And vlog somehow pushes audio in a different way than regular. I think it's vlog pushes audio through the HDMI output, and I think regular video does not and just keeps it on the card. Larry says, when you change the light, you know... Oh, I no longer look like Cary Grant? Okay, I'm going to jump back. Area 51, big noise. Just on the other side of 635, less than a mile. Oh, I see. That's not bad. Maybe Leon has more trees. I think that's true. We're very treed. I'm in the outskirts. It's very, very tree here. Very treed here. Luke says, Matagalpa currently 71 degrees, slight breeze, average year-round 65 to 85. Mexican Righteous, is Jinotega a nice place to live? I heard it's not hot like other places in Nicaragua. I like Jinotega. Negatives are its distance from major things, and it's a small city of about 90,000. So Jinotega is, you're a little bit isolated. You can get to Matagalpa in like 45 minutes, and there's a lot of stuff in Matagalpa, so it's not terrible. It's a nice city. The weather is fantastic. I love the up in the mountains city stuff. It's very cool. It's got a lake nearby. I like Jinotega a lot, but if I was to live there, I would be very unhappy with the general lack of restaurants and cafes and activities, right? But and like the grocery stores aren't as big, and for us, we love running to Managua on a regular basis. That's from Jinotega is a really long drive. From here, it's nothing. From here, we got quick shuttles that go a lot of places. From here, we can get to multiple cities really easily. but Hinotega can get to Matagalpa, so it's really close to the places I like to be. So that part's nice, and the weather's fantastic. The houses are a little bit different up there because the weather's so much cooler. You can save a lot of money by not needing air conditioning, because who has air conditioning in Hinotega? You just don't need it. It's a really pretty area. It really is. So I like it, but be prepared for boredom and lack of variety to be killer problems up there. But are there ways to tackle that? Of course. Maybe you like staying home and you just want to watch TV most days, and you're okay with driving or taking the bus somewhere other days. Like, all that's fine. Like, if you're just using it as a launching point, there's definitely times that I'm like, you know what? I don't really. It's Thursday night. I'm doing the live stream. Do I want to do it in Leon? Or if I was doing this from Hinotega, would that be better? Yeah, I wouldn't need the air conditioning. I could have the windows open, cool breezes, right? Maybe even carpeting. That's probably pushing it. But, like, it's completely different. And for when I'm at home and not going out because I live near the beach, like, it's nice being near the water. But if I'm not actively out on the water, well, yeah. Or hanging out with my friends who are local. Like, one of the things I love here is my group of friends, and I like the culture here in Leon. But if I was just staying home for the day, yeah, I'd rather be in Hinotega. So it all depends what you want to do. Driftless, I have visited San Juan del Sur. Thank you. Awesome. No, it's not in New Mexico. It's in Nevada. Wait. Area 51's in Nevada? Did I really not know where it is? Not that I want to be in Nevada either, but it is in Nevada. How did I get that so wrong? Oh, and it's way in Nevada. Yeah, I definitely don't want to be there. Brent says, yeah, I thought Granada was way muggier feeling. Maybe the hot air blowing over the lake before hitting Granada. Easily, that could be it. Or hot air coming in from Managua. Maybe it sits in the city and then goes there. Diego says, Area 51, it's a research facility, so cool tech. Maybe. Fan sound, Area 51. Yep, Nevada got the sound. How's the voice volume now? I have been catching up, so I don't know. James says, where would be a good place in Matagalpa to stay for 4 days? Luke, that's a Luke question. Volume went down. Yep, airline pilot. Yeah, but your voice is much lower. Voice volume low now. When you change the light, oh yeah. How many people need hot water? Rare. Hostel versus hotel. How many people need hot water? Hot water is rare. Looking for a hostel versus looking for a hotel. Now I understand. Driftless Bliss. I have to turn my phone volume to maximum to hear now. Are you able to turn up the mic volume a little? Okay, let me see. Hold on. My tool for this is restarting. Fingers crossed. I don't know why the volume is so low. Like, this is, a monster mic. And I'm right here, and it's cranked up. Diego says, a few live streams ago, you talked about how we are legally the same country as the CA4, but I couldn't find that. Couldn't find it in the new Constitution. Maybe they removed it. I looked at the Constitution within the last 3 months, and it was there. Luke says, Matagalpa, Hostel Casa Vieja, Hotel San Jose, Hotel El Castillo, La Buena Onda Brisas Hotel. Diego, maybe the thing is that I brought attention to it, and then they're like, ooh, we gotta change that. Let's see. How do I... Oh, there we go. No, that's not the tool I need. Bird watching, Selva Negra, San Ramon, Cascada Blancas, any eco lodge in the eastern side of Matagalpa Departamento. I must have skipped something. I'm a bird watcher and prefer forested hills over beach. You are probably thinking of Roswell, New Mexico. I must be, but why did I combine the two? 5/5 for voice volume. Oh, awesome. Voice is still low and too far away, sounding from the mic. Weird. I'm still working on trying to find how I can alter that potentially. I haven't updated any of my mic gear in so long. It's all like, we need to understand, we need to download things, we need to download things. Bird watching. Now you sound like Howard Cosell. Yes. Doing my best radio impression. Thank you for the info. We are at just over 2 hours. Everyone remember to give a thumbs up. It does help. I appreciate it. Do you remember what it said? Really want to find it. That's an interesting fun fact. I remember the gist of it pretty clearly. It said that Nicaragua recognizes the nation of Central America and is bound by Constitution to work towards future integration. We're carrying signs now. The volume was a bit low, so I cranked it up and ripped the knob off. Now I'm dating myself again. Hold on. Trying to get microphone management software installed. I'm a little bit hungry. I do miss a lot of food. Oh, is there any strawberry recipes you want me to make? The ones I found that look good are strawberry mousse and strawberry lemon blondies. Ooh. My daughter is thinking about making either strawberry mousse or strawberry lemon blondies. That sounds amazing. Don't remember, the volume was a bit low. The bird tour guide at Selva Negra grew up on the property, went to university, and returned to guide. Truly loves his work. That is really cool. Carrying signs. I'm just here. Will rewind and watch when done. Awesome. Driftless Bliss. Selva Negra is high on my list of places to visit. I've been there. I really like it. It's quite cool. I think that their website and people promoting it tend to do a really bad job of it, because from talking to people, everyone had me convinced before I went there that it was of zero interest, and then I went, and it's, it's not the most amazing, it's not like an amusement park or anything, but it's quite nice, and I liked it a lot. So we thought the restaurant was nice, and everything. Oh, and now my tool is, whatever tool I have is not even working. Well, that's awful. We're going to get to the bottom of this microphone stuff. Any more vendors operating in the new Mercado? Are buses using it as a terminal yet? The buses are, yes. We may just reboot this mic. I've got a firmware update to do, and it's just I think we're gonna lose video and everything. It's just gonna restart. So brace yourselves. But every tool I have is trying to force me to restart it. So we may just be gone for 30 seconds. When I disappear, I'm sorry that this happened during a live stream. But at least we're starting to track down what this audio is. How is Marcella doing? She is doing quite well. She was actually here when I started the live stream, and she ran away. All right, it says don't unplug anything. I think it just restarted. I don't know that you guys can hear me. No, you can. Yeah, she's doing quite well. She's had pneumonia or something for a little bit, but she's doing a lot better. Oh, I don't know for Brent. I don't know if there's any vendors, more vendors in the Mercado yet. Waiting to see that. But the buses are definitely there, and I need to get up there and film it. It's just been, my week has been so busy. Self-Nigger PSA, beware the aggressive geese hanging around the restaurant. I filmed them on the show one time, and they're pretty aggressive. Alright, so I updated the firmware, and now it says it can't connect. I love Rode gear, and I hate it at the same time. If we do go offline for any reason, I am going to run and grab a snack. I know there's hamburger helper on the stove, and it's calling my name. But I only had lunch because of the live stream. There's geese. We could do an ASMR, though. Dungeons and Dragons ASMR. Oh, this wants my entire computer to restart. No, I can't do that. And nor can you close it. It doesn't give you any way to close the updater. Now I'm... Yeah, I don't know how much I can adjust the mic while doing the show. Alright, my daughter is making strawberry blondies right now. Yay! Luke, speaking of road gear, so how about that road trip? Sponsored by Rode Pod Mics. Yeah, we need to do that. We need to plan that. Got a lot of things that changed this week for my schedule, so need to figure that out. Always things are so busy. Yeah, maybe in the next 2 weeks. I'm so anxious to get these dice out and try them out. Give them a real run for their money. Alright, so I've got these multicolored ones. I don't know if you guys can see them. I think, oh, no, these are kind of orangey, burnt orange swirly. I think these are going to be my main dice. Let's see if you guys can we get a focus on them? Maybe. There we go. Yeah. May 18th through 19th, I'm in Managua to reapply for my residency. Rest of the calendar is open. All right, cool. While we're here, I am going to... I don't think Jillian got to see this. I got a little light reading. Now, I do have... One of the things I found is there's some awesome books on Audible for free, or just for your membership. So I got to read a whole bunch of stuff, which is nice. But I really want to open up this box. So I'm going to break into this. Oh, it's nice and easy to open. Just to make some of you jealous. I know Luke plays. He's going to be jealous. And I have another box like this waiting in Managua. New toys. You're going to be like, ooh, cool box, what's in there? A book? Oh. Look, people, if you don't play TTRPGs, you don't understand. Ooh, there's another box inside that box. Okay, this is really nice. Everyone has raved about the publication quality of this particular set. So this is just a slip case on the outside, but they did a really nice job with it. It's the same as the book. And this book is effing massive. Right? Can you see how big this book is? This book is huge. It's the first major publication from Darrington Press. And the second one in this series comes out very, very soon. A month or two, I think. So, definitely hoping to get that. But I have not played Daggerheart yet, and everyone's been raving about it this year. And it's one of a handful of games I'm really, really interested in. So excited to have this, and hopefully we can show it a little bit. Yeah. How many pages is this? About 350 pages. got some beautiful artwork and stuff. Hopefully you can kind of see this. This is quite a nice book. Really good feel to it. And I'm gonna sit it down here. I'm really scared the dog's gonna get to it. And then we got this cool book, which I get to open up. How does it? Oh yeah. Ooh, it's a card carrier. So these are all gaming cards for this. Is this magnetic? Is that what it is? Oh, it is. It's a magnetic case for these cards. And let's see. All right. So these nice packs of cards, and they have like different like spells and items and abilities, and I guess that's kind of it. And it makes it easier that you can keep it with your players, so you can like use it to keep track of things. This is so nicely done. I'm really excited about this. So looking forward to reading this 350-page book and trying out this game. And you guys got to see me unbox it. I know, not very exciting, but I love playing TTRPGs. Have not gotten to play much for a long time. My kids love it. I've got a couple new groups that are kicking off here, and really looking forward to getting some variety and trying some things. And I'm experimenting with a couple new games. Sorry to have this blocking my face. Not that that's your favorite thing, but Daggerheart, and we're trying out Nimble with a group. So I just did the Kickstarter and got all of the Nimble stuff. Oh, the dog is going over to that. Nope, that's not for dogs. Absolutely no. Set it right there so it's on the show. All right, there we go. Hi, dog. But yes, you can sit at my feet and be a sweet doggy. Yes, you can. He's the puppy. We did the Kickstarter for Nimble, and we did the pre-order for Legends of the Mist. So we've got a number of really cool games that are coming, and my kids and I currently play Dungeons & Dragons 5.5. So I'm really hitting a variety of things, kind of try out new stuff, because I haven't played much in a while. Go ahead. And Mothership, which is a sci-fi horror TTRPG, my dad got for my kids, and it has arrived, but it is waiting in Managua, so I will have it in a few days. So we're excited about that. I don't know who's going to play that one with us. Since Dennis V won't be filming for all Dune books, I can only hope someone revisits the tomes for a new and improved RPG. The prequel series on HBO written by the son is actually good. That's awesome. I've not seen the prequel series yet. I have some of it and just have not had a chance to get into it. So that's good to hear. I've never seen the Dune RPG. I'll look that up. Oh, sorry. Dune Adventures in the Imperium, the role-playing game. Luke, are you sure this isn't current? Oh, it's Modifius. No, this is current. They've already revisited it, Luke. Your desert, your Arrakis, your Dune. Get started on Arrakis, beyond Arrakis. There is, in the US, let's see. Oh, and the Agents of Dune starter set. Looks good. They've got the Masters of Dune campaign book available. Sand and Dust extension available. But hasn't been done well. It's Modifius. They generally are considered pretty good. But I don't know. 50 pounds. Why do you go to the US shop and it gives it to you in British pounds? But, oh, Modifius themselves only have 35 copies of the game left. So if you want to get it, this is the time. Oh, the books look really nice. What else does Modifius make? So they do 2D20 RPGs. So they are that's why I know them. They make Fallout. They make Star Trek. Dreams and Machines. I had considered getting Fallout just recently because it was on sale, but I don't know how much I like 2D20 games mechanics, and I'm not sure how much I'd like Fallout as a game. I don't have anyone who really wants to play it with me, so I kind of, Modifius also makes Mass Effect miniatures, which, for those who know me, I am a huge Mass Effect fan, but have no knowledge whatsoever of Mass Effect the board game. I don't know if that would be awesome or terrible. Probably terrible. I don't like board games. I love TTRPGs, so... Mystic Chipoko says, Xbox? I had an Xbox 360. That's about the only one I ever had. I do like video gaming quite a bit. Is that a question about Mass Effect? I played Mass Effect on the Xbox 360. Yes. Now I have it on PC for the upgraded version, but when I played it through was on Nicaragua. Expat Life says he can't hear me. Is it really that low, guys? I have no way to turn it up more. Every bit of boost is cranked. And I know it's showing as being pretty low, but there's no way for me to turn it higher. OBS won't let it go higher. But you can hear that. I can see the dogs getting picked up by the mic. Luke says, if someone brings back Michael Moorcock's Stormbringer, I'll geek out and play. But yeah, I had the Xbox. I played... I'll move this just a little bit closer. Can I really get this? This is a little bit much. But I guess if I talk at full volume and basically eat the mic, maybe we're okay. I can't figure out why it's so freaking low this week. And why is there some way to up the volume? Here I am touching the mic. Mystic Hippo. What? Oh, Mystic Hippo. I get it. Okay, yeah. It is low, but I can still hear you. Okay, good. Oh, Expat Life says much better. All right, well, this is what we're doing tonight. I'm sitting here with the mic in my face. This is seriously. Yeah, Mystic Hippo, bring the mic. I can't bring it any closer than this. It's literally my face on the mic. And none of the tools will let me turn it up because they force me to update things to do it. So we're just kind of stuck for the moment. I lost track of what I was saying. Shadowrun is still on sale, but you know, I played so much Shadowrun in the 90s, I don't think I want to go back to it. All right. Oh, we don't have that many people on. What's going on? Maybe the mic is too faint. I don't know what to do, though. I can't restart the computer in the midst of doing the show. That would definitely be a problem. So I'm a little bit stuck. There is a volume and a gain. Do you have both? Are you running through a mixer? So I'm running through, it's hard to show, but I've got a Streamer X, so I've got an actual knob, and it's 100% all the way up for the mic. So that's the preamp going into the digital, but that's, so this is XLR going in there, and so it's cranked, and that should be plenty of signal. Then that goes into the computer via USB, and that should be good, obviously because it's USB. And then it goes into the digital mixer, into the Rode software, and the Rode software should not have it turned down, like that should not be a thing. And then it goes into OBS, which has the volume control, the master volume control, but it does not let me turn it up at all. Like it doesn't give me anything. what is this doing? I've got some kind of global. Did that tell me immediately if anything changes? But so I've got this video capture device. We don't need that. Oh, nope. I feel like there's a master volume that is missing. Wait, does that do anything? It can't. Boom, boom, boom. No, that did nothing. Testing. Yeah, we're still the same. I've been in the top 3 in Diamond League in my Duolingo for the last month. Congratulations. That's awesome. Oh, wait. Is this going to do something? Testing. Am I getting louder? Testing. Is that... I hope that is doing something. If I go into... this extra source, I'm able to, in theory, take this above where it's been. Okay, so it's getting better. Okay, now I'm 7 decibels above. I don't know why my slider stopped allowing that, but here it is. Let me know overall how it sounds. All right, maybe I can move this just a little bit farther away. It's uncomfortably close. What about your speaker volume? There's no speaker volume. Not that you want your speakers on. Sometimes things go sideways or backwards. Volume up 25%. Awesome. More importantly, I am starting to have dreams where my brain is formulating conversations in Spanish. Next phase should be actually dreaming in Spanish. Oh, Luke says now at 50%. I'm showing a pretty healthy level, so I think it sounds decent at this point. At least it seems. I think it's still a little bit low. I just can't figure out why I need to have that much gain. And why I can't just crank it up in some useful way. And how do I get back to... Whoa, what did I just do? What is this? What have I done? Does this do anything? Does this do anything? Do. No, nothing changes. Okay. Backwards. Oh, yes. All right, we're going to try taking this up a little bit more. All right, that should be pretty noticeable. If you see a countdown, it's time to run. John Mason says, so apparently, my mind has gotten the message that the boss thinks learning Spanish is important and it should work on it. Awesome. Mystic says no. No to it's loud enough, no to it got better. Mystic Hippo. There's so few people on. But we have a lot of people talking, so we have a really good conversation, but very few people. I'm wondering if we want to, like, we did a really big live stream last night, so I just want to check, should we call it early, or should we give it more time? I'm up for either way. I have plenty of work I can do, or I can hang out. My kids are cooking, so I'm going to have strawberry lemon bars in just a little while. But it's really noticeable that we hit kind of a peak at around 7:40, and it's just kind of quickly trickled off. So it's all good. We can hear you if that's what counts. All right, cool. Maybe it was too quiet, and that's why people were leaving. I don't know. Do you speak Spanish? Meaning me. I do. At this point, I do speak Spanish. I have been I took Spanish in high school. I've lived in Spain and Panama. I've been here for so long. I speak Spanish every day. My Spanish is not fluent, but it's pretty good. It's very conversational. I use it constantly, so definitely decently fluent. Spartacus, what is this channel about? We must be getting promoted places because we get so many people showing up on the live stream asking what things are about. Driftless says, still here, and it's Spartacus asking what the channel is about. So this is my life living in Nicaragua. As I say at the beginning of the channel, hi, I'm Scott Allen Miller. This is my life living in Leon, Nicaragua. This is our Thursday Night Live, and mostly we talk about life for expats and what it's like moving to, vacationing in, living in the beautiful tropical paradise of Nicaragua. But we talk about other things too, because as people who live in or might travel to Nicaragua, or just take an interest in it, oh, hey, look, now it's working. I'm not going to actually be right back. I'm just getting this ready for when I do need to be right back. Now it actually works. So that's at least one thing I got fixed tonight. Do you like my be right back message? All right, so it's about life's little foibles and living in Nicaragua. Spartacus says, okay, thank you. So I've lived here officially for 11 years and absolutely love life here. So it's an interesting place, right? Spartacus says it has no plans soon, but after you watch this show, maybe you'll have plans sooner. So many expats love. Oh, maybe when I retire. Yep, that makes sense. Have you ever visited? Have you been here at all? I think this is a pretty good resource for people who are interested in maybe living here someday. A lot of people come here asking for information about residency and citizenship and border runs and pensionados, rentistas, all kinds of different things. And I'm going to share this as well. Expats.nicaragua.com, great place to sign up for free. It's just a forum where you can talk to other people who are interested in Nicaragua. Jillian says, that's what I did, retired here. Well, Jillian knows she didn't really retire here. She runs an animal rescue here and does lots of other work, and she's preparing for the hardest job of all, playing Dungeons & Dragons with me. Bum, bum, bum. It's mostly for Jillian that I have the Daggerheart book hiding in the background. John says, the way they teach languages in the U.S. sucks. It absolutely does. So awful. I learned so little. 4 years of special. Now, to be fair, we couldn't find anyone who spoke Spanish to teach the class. So I had a German speaker teaching my Spanish class, which is funny because my daughter now takes German as her language while living in Nicaragua. Denise Alvarado, 99991, says, how are the gas prices there with all that's going on in Venezuela and the Middle East? So far, maybe they've gone up, but we've not noticed them change yet. If anyone here has seen the prices change, they may have. We've not noticed out here in Leon. So our prices are generally higher than the U.S. Not always. There was a time when we first moved here that we were a little bit lower, but we've held pretty much steady, and the U.S. has gone down. So right now we're a bit more expensive than the U.S. just on average, but that also insulates us from random changes, and I've not seen a change happen yet. I almost said happen yet. Driftless Bliss, Animal Rescue. Yes, Jillian runs the Teamea Rescue in Las Piñitas. So if anyone is looking to volunteer, anyone's looking to donate, anyone's looking for something where you can really make a difference, they need lots of resources at Teamea. So definitely hit up Jillian. I was at Teamea yesterday. At some point, we're gonna do a live stream with them. I've done live streams with them, but it was on their live stream. She's gonna do the live stream here, and Jillian's been on the show before as well. But yeah, and if anyone is here and is looking to adopt, Jillian always has a large supply, both of animals that she has directly and of animals that she knows of. So whether you're looking for a dog or a cat, I don't think she has anything else, she's got you covered. Even if you want a whole pack of something, she probably has you covered. And she knows people who, like, I have probably 8 more kittens, because we take in the strays here and then get them fixed and take care of the kittens and everything. But the last batch of kittens, we kept them all because we love the kitties. They are so sweet. They have the best parents here. So we're actually, all the parents that are here we're keeping, and the batch of kittens that we've already had we're keeping, the whole batch. And yeah, we have a lot of animals. And right now, while doing the show, I have 3 dogs sleeping at my feet. So there are places you can get involved. There are things you can do. All right, now you guys are a little bit quiet. Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Ba-dum. Ba-dum bum. Bum bum bum. Oh. And John says, my son took 4 years of high school Spanish. Oh, and then something covered up my text. Took 4 years of high school Spanish and couldn't manage to have even the simplest of conversations. Like, he couldn't order a meal in a restaurant. That's pretty much how I felt about my high school Spanish. It probably wasn't that bad. And so this is funny. My best friend from high school, she and I took Spanish together for 4 years. We met in Spanish class. We now, with no connection to high school, are neighbors here in Nicaragua. We live on the same road, which is pretty wild, on the same beach. Uranil 5091. I have a question about Chinese investment in Nicaragua. We are taught that Chinese investment is bad, and some people are so concerned about China being so involved in the growth of Nicaragua. Who is we in that case? Is that from a Nicaraguan perspective, an American perspective, a Chinese perspective? Who is it that's being taught that Chinese investment is bad? So it's a funny thing to say. So normal countries say in foreign investment is something they want. It's weird to hear foreign investment bad. That's like saying profit's bad, right? Like, it's what? Why would, so I started a business. I sure hope I don't get customers. Do you find Chinese investment a bad thing? I believe you have a background in finance, so I figured you'd be better to ask. I do. So no. So of all investment, so one, investment is good, right? Investments are positive. Investments means, Jillian says delivering 4 out of 6 kitties for adoption tomorrow. Aw, they're so cute. I saw them yesterday. They're so adorable. So investments, right? That's where so the same thing we talked about earlier, and I know you probably weren't on because this was hours ago, but we had a conversation about how can you give to the community. And one of the things we said is you don't want to do often, right, straight charity where you're just like donating money. That's often not a great thing. What you want to do is find ways to invest in your community, to become a partner, to become an ongoing organic growth where you're creating the whole community better, right? It's not that you never want to give things, it's not that extreme, but that there's this really good way to handle things by investing. Well, the same thing happens on a national scale, is you want countries or big groups to be investing in your country, right? Most countries work really hard to encourage foreign investment. The United States does, right? So the U.S. is constantly begging for Chinese investment in the United States, right? Because that's how you write British investment, Japanese investment, Chinese investment, Korean investment, right? And Americans invest in those places too. But you want foreign investment because that means people in other countries are becoming tied to you and providing money to do more business in your country. So you want foreign investment. And they're the ones taking the risk. So if, in this example, China invests in Nicaragua and that investment doesn't pay off, that money has gone into Nicaragua and Nicaragua gets to keep it, right? Because how do you get it back? That's not an investment if you just get your money back. That's a loan, right? No, investment means you put money in and you take a risk and you hope to make something from it. So what you want most is investment. And of places that might invest in you, China is generally the best or among the best, right? They tend to invest in really good ways. And like Shark Tank, they invest, yeah, they put up money, but they also generally bring a lot of expertise or resources to the table. So if some random country, let's say you got some rich people in the Sudan, they invest in Nicaragua. Sure, the money is useful and that's great, but they probably can't provide a shipping route or factory goods or an outlet for Nicaraguan products. They can only put in the money. But when you get someone like China or Vietnam or Japan, right, they're not only able to provide money, they're able to provide expertise. They're able to provide shipping and logistics. They're able to provide products to sell and markets to sell products from, right? And one of the reasons that China is such a big investor in Nicaragua is because Nicaragua is such a big provider of food to China. Like, China's a big export market for us. So having someone like China who brings so much to the table and never has negative investments, right? All their investments are really good, like, for the countries that they go into. Every country that has Chinese investment ends up being like, thank goodness we have Chinese investment, right? Because it ends up being such good investments. So it's generally seen as the best. And America certainly sees it as the best. And you know this for two reasons. The U.S. wants Chinese investment, and they get angry if anyone else gets it and not them, right? So that's how good it is that the U.S. gets really angry if other people get it. So even the U.S. government just advertises, like, Trump is the biggest believer in China. You can see it in everything he says, right? And all throughout the government, the Americans love Chinese investment as long as they're the recipients. And that's more telling than anything, right? So there's a reason why no one in the world is concerned about Chinese investments except Americans, mostly because other people in the world aren't concerned. Like, we're not concerned that, you know, the DRC got Chinese investment. We're not like, oh, they got it and we didn't. Oh, I'm so upset, right? That's not how most countries behave. Americans actually do, and they get upset if countries aren't dependent on the U.S. or that other countries are getting those benefits that they're not. But that's, right, nothing I say really means that much, right? Is it good for Nicaragua? Of course it is. Nicaragua wouldn't let them do it if it wasn't good for Nicaragua, right? You would just say no. Like, they can. Like, that's how countries work. They get to say no. But when China says, hey, we'd like to give you money, they go, yeah, getting money, that's good. Why would we turn that down, right? It's not like it comes with strings. But speaking of strings, John says, those same people who get angry that good things happen to Nicaragua would have no issues with loans being given from the World Bank and IMF that they give to developing countries like Nicaragua, where there are big strings attached, and they try to control your economy, they force you to repay them. They're not investing, they're predatory. Now, in some cases it does help. Not all loans are bad things, but there was a time period where all loans were considered bad things, right? Or at least loans with interest. The idea that you're going to loan people money and then try to control them, generally bad, right? So not only is Chinese investment on its own a very good thing, it's also very protective of countries that we then don't need to turn to the World Bank or IMF as out of desperation, right? It protects us from that. Another reason that the U.S. doesn't like it, because those are long arms of Western control and colonization. Jillian says, do you like my kitty stampede video this morning? I do. She has so many little kitties and they come rushing out all at once. They're so adorable. James says, my daughter did French immersion in school. She had to relearn English for biochemistry. Canada's nice because they actually speak two languages, so getting French teachers is actually plausible. It's weird. Growing up in the U.S. in the 1970s and 80s, we literally didn't have Spanish teachers. I never met a real Spanish speaker until I was, like, in my late 20s. And, like, I took Spanish in school. I took Latin American studies in school voluntarily. I, in high school, started making plans to at least visit long-term, like to live temporarily in Latin America. I always was like, I'm drawn to this region. I want to put some effort into it. And it took me a while before I did, but, like, I'm way more into languages and the, like, all that kind of, like, the idea of that stuff than normal people. And growing up in New York, we had literally zero resources for it. I had no access to tapes to hear what Spanish sounded like. If it wasn't on one of the words of the day on Sesame Street, never heard it. We're carrying signs now. Where are there a lesser percentage of stray dogs? I heard a retiree in Matagalpa complain, heartbroken about the large number of strays. Jillian, thank you for being part of the solution. I feel like Managua is less. Maybe not for good reasons. I don't know. The beaches are especially bad, I think. Being in the city like where I am, there actually aren't that many, but they're always there. It's a terrible problem, but it would be the real thing is looking at it as an opportunity. Try to find a way to bring in dogs, right? Find a way to be part of the solution, and I think it'll go much farther than it would other places. You could make a huge impact, but yeah, it's heartbreaking. But which is better, right? Knowing that it's out there and that you don't do anything, or being around it and being able to maybe positively contribute. That's about what there is. This is interesting. So I just navigated away. Kitty Stampede, learn French, lesser percentage of stray dogs. Hora de hacer la tarea, clase temprano por la mañana. Adiós, y'all. Luke is having a good night. Night, Luke. Buenas noches, Luke. Thank you so much for the great input. You're welcome. Blockchain Nicaragua. Hello, I'm from Nicaragua. We have a crypto community. Interesting. We do get asked about that pretty commonly. So interested in what kind of community there is. What do you guys do here in Nicaragua? Denise Alvarado. U.S. gasoline prices have surged by roughly 27 to 30%, with the national average rising by nearly 90 cents or more per gallon to over 380 to 390. That shows how low the U.S. was. Like, it was so low. I would have thought in Nicaragua it would be worse. Why would you think it would be worse here? We didn't expect it to be much of anything. Noelcast says, hey, Scott, first of all, Area 51 is in Las Vegas. It's not actually in Las Vegas. It's pretty far from Las Vegas, but it is in Nevada, north of Vegas, and there's nothing in between. We still have a Parlamento Centroamérico, which is like a Congress that functions like a regular state Congress, and all 4 countries have the delegates. Good to know. 380 is so low. But that's why the U.S. surges, is because the U.S. has little potential. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, right? So I'm not saying something negative about the U.S. The U.S. has very little buffer room for controlling prices of gas. The only way for them to keep the prices down is to subsidize, which is not something that people are very happy with. Whereas in Nicaragua, they're kept artificially high, and so they're able to keep them even when prices surge, for the most part. Now, it's amazing that the national average is 380. That is so freaking cheap in the U.S. That is so low. That's practically subsidized. Like, even with the surge, right, our prices are much higher here, but they haven't really changed. It's amazing to see that New York is actually below national average. I grew up in New York. We were always super expensive gas as a kid. And now it's on the cheap side, and it's the West that's really expensive. California's always expensive, but like Idaho, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, they're all more expensive than New York. And Texas is only a little bit cheaper. Florida and Georgia are more expensive than New York. Michigan, Indiana. But I'm interested in the crypto community here in Nicaragua. What does it do? you guys are quiet again. Where's the snow bunnies? What? Cryptozoology, what's your local squatch or Jersey Devil known as, or predator? So there's a ton. Like, we've got the Cadejo, the dual wolves. We've got some stuff like that. There's a ton of, like, headless priests and dead children and things like that that are, like, in the myths and legends kind of thing. I don't think we have anything really like Sasquatch or Jersey Devil, though. Nothing quite that extreme. Chupa something? You're thinking of the Chupacabra up in Mexico. We don't really have that as a thing down here. Someone can jump in and be like, "Yeah, we kind of do." I don't think that we do. Like, everyone knows what it is, right? But Driftless Bliss, I appreciate the info. I will watch your other videos on Nicaragua. Well, thank you so much. Remember to give a thumbs up before you disappear. Jillian says, my daughter also did French immersion from kindergarten until grade 1 when we moved to France. Oh, Larry says, is it raining by you? I don't hear it raining. But it might be. It has rained this week a couple times, but not not right now as far as I know. Jillian says she had no trace of English accent at all, developed a thick regional accent. That's really cool. I wish my kids could have done that earlier and gotten Spanish here. That really stuck like that. Don Timoteo, was it Nawanhi? It is manatee tiger thing. Oh, interesting. I don't know that one. So, Blockchain Nicaragua, I checked out the website Blockchain Nicaragua, and all the links are dead. Everything is fake. It's there's an agenda. It's just a list of things that make no sense. There's see the event online goes to nothing. If you go to Market, it just shows you Pizza Day from 2 years ago. If you go to all the links, just take you back to the page. It's definitely just a placeholder page and not an actual thing. So this looks like what we normally see from blockchain in Nicaragua, that it's just a scam. This website definitely is not legit. It's years old and doesn't actually have any of the things it links to. For anyone who wants to check it out. If you want to check out volunteering at the beach, we're having a cat-only clinic next week, Wednesday the 25th. Sterilizations, consultas, vaccinations, chemo treatments, etc. Come out to Las Bonitas and check out the Teamea Clinic. Oh, Larry says, it's pouring here. Dog freaking out. Never saw rain. He's 7 months old. Oh, mine's only, I think, 7 months old. We got him as a tiny baby in October. So October, November. So November, December, January, March. Oh, ours may be only 6 months. We got him. Jillian, do you remember how old he is? Jillian had him for a few days before we got him because he was a runt and dying. Oh, he ran away. I just have 2 of my dogs. I don't have the little one right now. Yeah, it'll be his first rain if we get a real rain here. I'm gonna type for a second while you guys are being quiet. That's what you get. This is your punishment. Oh, I gotta do something first. Shoot. There we go. Driftless Bliss says that is great work you were doing there. She has saved a lot of dogs. It's making a huge difference. And we really need, so Jillian is the person to contact if you live in Canada. She has a process for getting dogs to Canada. So if you want to rescue dogs from here and bring them to Canada, she is your contact. They've done it successfully and have a process for that. So it's a really big deal. Dale says Uvia. That's from the other group, so it must be raining in. So Larry, who's talking about the rain, is in southeastern. Leon, and Dale is in northeastern. I'm in the west, so likely it'll be here in a few minutes. I'm going to let my kids know. Wondering if this is Brett Van Blankers. Wondering if there are any farms growing vanilla beans. I'm going to say no. I'm pretty confident vanilla beans don't grow here. Obviously, they do grow in Mexico. You probably could pull it off here. I believe they don't grow them. If they could grow, that would be a big crop here. Like, it would be a well-welcomed varietal crop. And I don't think we can. Or not on any scale. How sad. Yeah, I would love if there were local vanilla beans, but it's actually, vanilla is very hard to get here. Apparently they do grow, but there's not much. I wonder if they can grow. I wonder why it's not a more popular crop. Larry says, Dominican Republic is very famous for vanilla. All the tourists would buy to take home. Oh, that's cool. Seems like it must grow here. Like, how does it grow up there and not here? guys are pretty quiet. All right, we've gone over 3 hours. We did a long live stream last night. I don't want to cut you guys off when there's a lot of activity, but we're down to just 13 people, and it's very quiet, and I do have a lot to do. So it's been a great show tonight. I really appreciate everyone, but let's call it a night on the early side. It's been a good show. Let's not drag it out more than we should. Remember to give a thumbs up if you can, and if you want to watch more videos or ask questions on there, by all means, go do so. I'm going to update the computer, try to work on this microphone thing, and try to get that better for next time. We did improve the echo thing this time, so that's one thing that we fixed. And we did restart the machine that does it, so we're getting there. We're trying different things, and over time it's going to get better and better. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe, and I